Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there on this September 22nd, 2025, episode number 159? I'm Alex, my partner in crime, Dave over there. What's up, brother?
Not much. Still getting used to getting up early. It was like I didn't miss school this whole weekend. It was like I was just up early watching the Worlds every day. I apologize to anyone out there who I texted at 6:45 in the morning out of excitement. Usually it was Alex who
I was awake, so it doesn't matter.
The brunt of that, but usually you're usually up at that time. So I was just pumped, man. There was a lot of great things that happened. I'm sure we'll get into it later. There was things I didn't like and things that I thought were fantastic. So I'm just pumped up to talk about it later.
I just noticed that you're repping the Boulder shirt too, and I want to give a shout out to Boulder because they had an awesome Josette watch party that they put together. So I love that they had a Josette watch party. We love Josette here. But yeah, we'll definitely get into Worlds. I still protest and say that they should be competing in the middle of the night just so I can watch it during the day. I do not like having to watch it late at night or even but I relied more on clips. I wasn't as crazy as you with it because, there's 18 days of it. It's like a mini Olympics. So, it was, worlds are worlds. And there's always some exciting. There's always some people that pop in we didn't expect and people that didn't race as well, jump as well, do things as well. So we'll get into all that later. But before
you did mention it. So let's just get the shout out now to Josette, man. Six in the world. I mean, ran a smart race, led it, slow pace. It was, was texting with Big Bob and the Gone running crew, and he's like, it was 5 by 1K progressions. It just kept getting faster and faster. And she was there. It came down to people who just have ridiculous kicks, and she was right there. But to get 6th in the world,
we'll talk about my theory soon when it comes to Worlds. We'll talk about that, about how I feel about slow distance races now at this point in my life. So we'll get into all that. So before we jump in, wherever you're watching from, whether it's Kick, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, we appreciate you all wherever you're watching from. Make sure you give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. All that good stuff helps boost the show, make it get larger so our awesome guests can get noticed more and more.
I just have a question. Has my beard always been this white?
It's gotten whiter.
I'm like letting it grow longer, but I'm not sure now. It's getting white, man.
You got the little goat going, but listen, I got the Clooney hair all throughout mine here, and you can see my little pop out there. But I got the Clooney hair going.
You got a ponytail. So.
I do. No, it's a little man bun I got going on here. Listen, you got to do something.
I think everyone just tuned out.
Yeah, they did because they're like, wow, man bun. No, listen, if friggin' Cole Hocker can rock the man bun and I can rock the man bun, damn it.
You are doing it in support of Cole Hocker winning.
Exactly. And we're in unison with Cole. And Cole looks like a Greek god whenever he lets his hair out after he wins. So good for Cole. But so we'll get into the fun stuff. If you're listening to this later via podcast form, please make sure 5 stars is the only thing you give. If not, we'll send Phil Grove after you and he will just talk you down with track stats you didn't even know existed. And that will be a great day for everyone. But speaking of Phil, we had him on last week. It was always good to talk to him. Flow Track legendary announcer. We're going that far. And he's a writer over for PA Mile Split. And we had a fun conversation talking about Worlds, everything going on and stuff like that. So if you didn't get a chance to listen, go back and give that a listen. But let's get into our guest. It was great. Yeah, but let's get into our guest this week. Excited to bring him on. He is Carson Gambaro. He is a commentary for track and field. You'll hear him sitting sometimes next to the aptly mentioned Phil Grove. Writes for Mile Split, does Flow Track stuff, and he has his own podcast called the In Full Stride Podcast. Find episodes on YouTube. Carson, what's going on, brother?
Hey, Alex. Hey, Dave. I'm just excited to be talking about the sport that I love, man. That's what I love to do at the end of the day, no matter for who or for what reason. Just love it.
Absolutely. We're all a bunch of nerds. We are all a bunch of track nerds, and it's fun sometimes to just nerd out and do that. Okay. And it's nothing wrong with that. Damn it. Don't think down on us. But I want to jump in right away to the question that we start off with all of our guests, because you were a runner at some time, like most people that do enjoy the sport. So when did you get the spark to want to become a runner and to have that be something that you actively pursued?
I was thinking about this a lot today. I sort of always had that spark deep within me. I just didn't really realize it until my competitive career was over, which is ironic because I've always enjoyed being fast. I've always had that competitive nature in me. I'd always turn things that weren't races into race, like, I don't know, getting to the front of the lunch line. Yes, I was that kid back in elementary school, et cetera, on the playground. And I'd always get upset if I lost. And that sort of carried over into high school track, but that was when knowing how to run was important. And I didn't really know how to run then or really care to know how to run then. It wasn't until I had lost that sense of obligation to show up to track practice, to track meets, that I noticed that something serious and significant was missing from my life. And so that's when I actually took it upon myself to reconnect with the sport. And that's when I also discovered that running is hard. But for those that know me,
That's awesome.
you'll know,
Yes,
you'll know I
it's
like a
hard.
good challenge.
But I do
And
like, I
so,
discovered running is really hard at
Really
that
hard.
point.
so yeah, I mean, my first 100 back at an exhibition meet, I ran 13.2. So that's how hard I discovered running was if
yeah.
you don't do it for a while.
I couldn't
And
imagine running 100. I would have like my legs would be just shot. They'd be
I'd pull
blown
every
hamstring
muscle I
here,
didn't know
quad.
I
Yeah,
had. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'd be
Yeah.
dead. You would be carrying me off the track if I tried to do an absolute all-out 100. Be terrible. Have a
I'd have
terrible
no
go of
shot.
it.
I'd have no shot.
my newfound sense of commitment, it's kind of a blessing and a curse because I never really injured any hamstrings as a high school sprinter, but I've actually gone through a few phases with that, right? The fear of injuries, injury prevention, it's a vicious cycle that you get yourself into when you actually take the
So
sport seriously, but ultimately it's the reward of getting to chase down PRs and just really find things in yourself that you didn't know existed that
Sure.
keeps me a part of it.
So were you a sprinter while you were a runner, and is that what you did, or were you more of a distance guy?
I did distance in middle school in
Okay.
7th grade when I did modified. I did the mile and the 1500 because that was all I knew from PE. I didn't really know how to do anything else. My coach would put me in the 400. I'd jog it. I could not fathom at the time that the event, which would eventually become my favorite, it was even possible to sprint around a track. And so I didn't even give it a try or give it a thought.
I love it. Hey,
That's great. So, and it's funny too, because Carson, I don't know how old you are, but you do get to an age where it's like scary to fall down. And then you realize that it's like, okay, maybe pushing yourself for a sport that I'm not going to make a lot of money in isn't all that worth it. We'll just go jog instead. And the running is over. Like you stop going on runs when you get to a certain age and you start going on jogs. Like it really gets to that point. Dave, you can attest to that, right?
I can, but I mean, I probably some of our past guests who are older than us might not. I agree, but yes, for the average person,
yeah.
100%.
Well,
I don't
for the average person here.
I don't run anymore. I go on little little strolls and jogs and little pretend things. And if I bring a watch, I just get mad because it's so slow.
Yeah, I never do any of my easy runs with a watch because I rarely even train for long distance races other than community 5Ks, which I'll just keep on moving. I'll just do a couple miles, maybe a little bit more just to stay conditioned. I'm not shooting for anything specific like I am with my goals in the 400 that I still cling on to, which obviously require more specific track workouts, which I'm hoping I can keep those up for as long as possible. I'm 24, so I'd like to think
you
I
got
have
time. You got at
few
least another
years still
year.
ahead of me.
You
But
got at least another year. 25 is when things start to change.
Yeah, I'm about to hit my quarter life crisis in a month from tomorrow. So
I'm very close to my I'm very close to my double quarter crisis. So
50 is the new 25. Okay, Dave, you're going to be good.
Yeah, I didn't have all this white when I was 25, but that's
Hey, I started going gray when I was 23. So this is like the gray episode. Carson, do you have any grays yet? We're going to ask you that.
Not that I'm aware of, but I don't have eyes in the back of my head.
He's going to go check now. He's going to take his phone and take a picture and make sure. And
I'm not a distance runner, so I'm not always looking behind to see what's behind me, right?
That's true. That's true. So do you have any fun memories you had either as a time running, back middle school, high school, or even now, where you've gotten back into the competitive side of things?
Yeah, starting with high school, I'd say one of my biggest memories was senior year indoor leagues 4x4. I ran for a very small school called Stillwater, and we have this 13, I think it's now 14 consecutive year streak going of league indoor
Nice.
titles for the boys' side.
That's
It
awesome.
was coming into my senior year, it was 8. Thank you. And I was finally in that position where, my body had developed to the point where even if I didn't understand how to run, I could still contribute as a scorer, which was a really cool feeling that I never even thought I'd realize.
Sure.
But coming down to pretty much the wire, there was obviously no certainty. We weren't completely aware of what was happening at that stage of the meet. And so we just knew we had to win the 4x4. And coach put me on anchor for the first time all year. And he goes, here's the plan. You're going to run a 55 or 56. And I had only run 156 before, and that was at the Armory. This meet was held on a flat track that wasn't even a 200-meter flat track. It was at U Albany. And basically, it's like 160. It's like 1/10 of a mile.
It's like Red Bank, Alex.
Yep, it's like Red Bank. That's terrible.
You can't wear spikes on this track.
That is Red Bank. Yep.
Oh,
Red
yeah.
Bank was a rounded rectangle. That's what we had to run on sometimes for our county races indoor. It was
in high school, and you couldn't breathe. It was
it was the worst. But
Anyway.
I used to lean so hard into those turns, man. Those were some of the breeding grounds for my toughness as a runner that I've somehow reconnected with today. But when coach said that, I was like, what? And he's like, there's no problem, right? I was like, nope. And then when we actually got on the line, by the second leg, we had a distance kid come back and run the second leg. He was a sophomore at the time, but we were in 6th. And even though I knew that there were catchable guys that were going to be in front of me, I was just not having it. I was nervous. But then our third leg, he gets us back into it at the last moment. I'm just like completely blanking, and all of a sudden we're in 3rd. My coach is screaming, move up in the exchange zone, which keep in mind is only like 20 meters beyond the turn. It's absolute chaos.
Terrible.
And I get it. And then I'm just like, okay, here we are. I'm chilling through the first 100 or however many meters, because you can't really measure distances or splits on a track like that.
No.
Not that any of that stuff mattered to me at that time either. I was just running and doing my thing. And the next thing I know, a lap in, just heading into the bell lap, we're 3 wide. And the stretch is 50 meters. And all of a sudden, I'm just feeling in myself. I'm feeling go. I heard my coach say moments ago, he says, you got this. Not you got this. Not you got this. You got this. And I knew right there that the race was decided. I was like maybe 5 meters behind, and I just leaned so hard into the turn like I was telling you guys earlier, and I somehow managed to sneak in front of him and built all the momentum from there. And I just remember for the first time I actually celebrated after a race. I threw my hands up. My teammates came to hug me.
That's
my coach
awesome.
told me I ran like a 56. I looked back, the replay, it was more like a 58. But the time just goes out the time goes out the window
when you're competing.
Like that's when you just get to experience the joy of winning and, conquering all your nerves and fears.
And one of those tracks, it's all effort, right? The times like there, you throw away, like you'll have guys like, I remember we'd go into counties at Red Bank, and you'd have guys that are like 154 guys, 153 guys indoor, and like at Princeton, like running fast, and they'd run like a 202, and it's like a 203, and it's like, whoa, okay, so that's the type of race we're gonna do, because you're 209 trying not to fall.
Yeah, I mean, you would run 209 and you would score easily.
And that was like, you're looking at it, and we had a very competitive, like, Dave, Ocean County's always been incredibly competitive, and the short conference has always been ridiculous. So it's always fun to look back at those races. But like you said, that builds a grit, that builds a toughness. Now Dave lost that toughness because he wasn't allowed to compete at Red Bank, because his squad decided to get into a fist fight with his rival squad at that meet one year. And
contact sport.
What are you gonna do, man?
Well, the fun fact about Dave,
you spit on a guy on our team, and we're gonna go at it.
Fun fact about Dave, so he's from a town called Toms River, which has 3 high schools. 3. And and I was a part of the redheaded stepsister.
They had north, south, and east, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
good. And I know my Jersey facts.
Toms River North had a ridiculous team this past year. They were very
good.
And their coaches are awesome. We interviewed them here. They're fantastic. I was a part of the redheaded stepsister Manchester that was like in between all the Toms Rivers, and we were just small, and we had our scrappy people, and it was always fun when we beat them. there was always a good time. We got to beat someone from Tom's River being Manchester. So me and Dave have our fun rivalry
We do.
going on.
Yeah.
So
I love rivalries. I just wanted to
they're
throw
so
that in there.
hell yeah. But the thing is though, Dave came and coached me. That's how we became friends. He coached me at Manchester for a year. So and we became close ever since then. I don't know what's wrong with Dave, but we became close
I don't
ever
know.
since then.
I ask that every day. I don't know.
So do
don't
you have
know if-
any other fun memories that you want to share?
I'd say this year now, flashing it kind of beyond high school. I've had a few other memories, like my last ever race where I ran my PR split of 54. But ever since then, I've just been, trying to refigure out the 400 and, do it on my own, right? Because the big thing that I've realized as a self-coached athlete is that everything happens on my schedule. Sometimes my schedule doesn't permit for a track workout or a run or a shakeout or a stretch session every single day. Whereas when I was in high school, I had to go to practice 5 days a week. Even if I didn't understand why I was moving my body, I was moving my body and I was getting in shape. I was 140 pounds, so I could move as effortlessly as possible. I'm 165 now, and I get down to 160 in the midst of summer track seasons when I actually run in local exhibition meets. So it's not like it is impossible to move my body around, but comparison to high school requires a little bit more strength.
Sure.
But this year, right, I decided to open my seat. I was announcing a lot of meets in the outdoor season, as I always do from a public address standpoint with broadcast, mile split, flow track, a lot of travel weekends. So again, that interfered with a lot of my workout time, but I kept a workout vlog or a log going in my phone notes section so I could just track my progress and even further understand the benefits of whatever it was I was doing. And one day I just said to myself, I need to open my season. It was 2 days before this meet that I was about to announce, really small local meet on the 1st of June. And I contacted the meet director, and it's one of those age group meets where you can enter if you are, of any age group. So I was like, hey, is there any chance that I could run in the open masters division of the 400? Yes, I willingly put myself into an open masters 400. And he said, absolutely. And so I'm announcing the meet for around 5 hours leading up to that. Funny story from that meet that they made the thrower be the only 3K runner. So,
no,
but it was cool, it was crazy. He started off with a hoodie on. He did not finish the race with the hoodie on, nor his shoes. He took his shoes off, but he finished the race. And, I really wanted to see how this would go, because even if I wasn't going to get to warm up like a traditional meet day, I could still build myself some adrenaline, because when I'm announcing meets, I get so much adrenaline, especially on PA. Sometimes at PA meets, those who are familiar with Section 2 in upstate New York will know I'll sometimes rip a post-meet 400 just right after the meet is done, and I'll get pretty close to a sub 60 here. So I wanted to see what I would do in an actual race. And that's actually where this pig comes from. Fun fact, they misspelled my name. It says Carson Gambino, but maybe it was that
Hey,
Gambino.
Vincent Gambino from my cousin Vinny. Hey.
Maybe it was that Gambino speed that helped me out, because I ran my fastest open 400 time ever, 55:66. So
nice.
I can't question why it happened. All I can remember is that joyous feeling, and it was probably the most joyous I've ever felt since I actually started competing since high school. So just had to make the long story short there at the end, because that's really what it comes down to. When you do something for fun, you have to prioritize the fun rather than why am I having fun? I'm having fun, and let it be that way.
I think a great part too is about this sport is like, your PR was just hit and it's 55, and it doesn't matter how fast your PR is, how good, as long as you hit it, the pain, the struggle, the work it takes to get there is the same as the person that is running a 43, a 44. Like, you're all working your tails off, and that PR feels great regardless of where it is. And
Absolutely.
I love that you get to sit there and continue to celebrate PRs. And Dave, we'd had such like a good like streak of guests that are, past their quote unquote competing time for like college and stuff, and they're still crushing it. Like Carson, you just had yours. We had on Amanda, we had Courtney, we had some monsters that are still getting PRs and getting right near them. And I just think that's so cool. And I envy all of you.
Could probably go out now and get a PR.
Phil Grove will run a 153. Okay, Phil Grove will go out there and just blitz it.
I'd be just barely fast enough to rabbit him for that first lap.
I mean, I would be fast enough to watch somebody rabbit him and then still collapse from what they're doing.
Yes.
Because yeah, no, running is an afterthought for me right now. I was like walking down the stairs and realizing my left ankle hurts a lot, and I don't know why. So it's like there you go, Carson. That's what you have to look forward to. So speaking of commentary, I want to get into that because I think what you do, and especially because you are a young man, jumping into commentary is such a cool thing. It's something that, if I could change like one thing about my existence, it maybe would have been going back to do sports comm and stuff like that. Because I think obviously what we do here kind of branches into that in more of a amateur way and not in the way that it's like professional. But I think it's really cool that you've gotten the opportunity to not only call meets, but call big meets. Like you've called Brian Clay, Penn Relays, like indoor meets at BU. Like these are no joke. These are real athletes that are running real times, real results, and things that I can imagine there's some pressure to kind of get it right because these athletes are getting paid based off these results. And the more that their name is out there with positive results, saying it right, saying it with a little bit of gusto. So for you, as you've, been doing commentary, what have been some of the challenges that you have found as you've been doing it? And, talk about what the challenges are being a track and field commentator.
Yeah, absolutely. The challenges are really just obviously sticking to your fundamentals, knowing when to rely on that as in terms of traditional play-by-play. Like you don't want to get too storytelling telling heavy, or else people are gonna say what's actually happening in the race if they're not track and field fans and they can't discern that, right? If they don't see if they see somebody making a move and they don't know who that is, and you're just rambling on about something unrelated for an extended period of time, which, hey, I've done that before, but hey, that's just the things that you have to always be on yourself about. I found in my first 3 going on 4 full years of track and field commentary that I've become my biggest cheerleader and harshest critic because I've had my bright moments, and I've certainly had my moments that by my standards, because I really want to do this at the highest level, that I'll be critiquing myself on. I guarantee you, if I go back and listen to this episode that I'm talking with you guys right now, there are going to be things that I'm going to self-critique myself on.
Of course.
And so really the challenge is moving past that and just looking forward to the next race. You'll hear athletes talk about this all the time, but it very much applies to us because what we do as commentators can be viewed like a sport because it involves a lot of routine, it involves a lot of discipline and a lot of preparation.
And there's a ton of competition, right? Like there is a lot of competition. There is a lot of talent out there for people that are very good at what they do. And it's kind of like, okay, why should we keep calling you back to do commentary if we're flow track? Like, what are you bringing to the table? What have you improved? And I feel like it's always good. Like you said, you go back and you watch things. Like I used to go back and watch all of our episodes and stuff.
I do another Alex to be like, hey Alex, I didn't like this or there. That he's like, it's a podcast. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And it's like, and believe me, when I first started, I've been podcasting now for over 7 years, almost 8 years now. And when I first started, I want to say the first 50 episodes, I sucked. I was miserable. I was not good at all at what I did. And now so many years later, so many podcasts later, I'm kind of comfortable in my own skin. And there's definitely things that I don't do probably still as well as I probably should, but it's one of those things where repetition helps you learn from things. And I can imagine sitting next to a master like Phil Grove sometimes could be really cool where, Phil seems like the type of guy that would give such great constructive criticism in the nicest way possible.
I called like an event with Phil at the New Jersey State Meet of Champs. It happened to be.
Oh yeah, that's right. He had you guys on his live guest. I remember that was
Davon,
I was there, and I happened to call the state record. Under meter. But
are you talking about the 1018 by our Syracuse guy Malachi James?
That I am.
Yes, you're orange.
It was
But so I have a question because I feel like when I'm watching track meets probably more than any other sport, I feel like there's not many commentators that don't have a background in track. I feel like you'll find other sports, like where someone never even played it. But I feel like in track, is that common? And how hard do you think it would be with this sport to try to call this sport with not having any previous knowledge or have any experience as an athlete yourself?
Well, I've paid a lot of attention to the commentators through recent years, especially, but of course, before Tom Hammond, the former voice of NBC, he was not a track and field main. So there's that example right there.
There is.
But of course, his voice is associated with Usain Bolt sprinting, winning by daylight in that Beijing final, right? He got to that level through repetitions, like you said, but you consider some of the guys that do it now. Paul Swangard's the exception on the American front, but then you've got the two play-by-play guys that did the duties at Tokyo. Well, let's go with Tokyo 2021 because the second guy I'm going to mention was also part of that team. But Lee Diffie, he started out mainly, he has a background in racing, right? He's an auto racing guy hailing from down under Australia, and he's really, really found a niche in track and field. And a lot of people have really grown fond of his voice, especially calls like Cole Hocker's 1500, Quincy Hall's 400, all the Sidney McLaughlin, Lavroni, great races. Got to give a shout out to our Jersey girl right there.
Absolutely.
But Bill Spalding as well. He's a newer guy. He was calling the field events alongside Trey Hardy, where Paul Swangard was typically in the past, but Paul moved up to lead play-by-play with Lee's absence this time. But I think Bill has really done a fine job. He's a recent Syracuse grad too, around 13-ish years ago, which is not a lot of time in between college graduation and getting to call world-class track and field.
100%.
And so I think he's just really been able to rely on his storytelling ability, which I, as a Newhouse grad at Syracuse University, can say that I've gained and tried to fuse with my passion for the sport. But really, I think that's been his biggest asset, and it's really helped him go a long way there.
I'd love to see John Anderson get more shine on that world stage. I think John, we've had him on the show, obviously an ESPN alumni, and he had a lot of responsibilities with SportsCenter, and I get that. But he has a passion for the sport, and he's friends with so many individuals in the sport that I feel like he's someone that I would love to see. And I know he was the voice of Grand Slam, and unfortunately Grand Slam did not go the way I don't think any of us wanted it to go.
But he also helped call the Olympics last year.
And he called the marathon. I think he called Boston. I think he was the guy for that too. So I just want to see him be like, when we get to the world stage, our American commentary should be a passionate American. Like, sorry about being a jerk. I'm sorry. I love the British guys. I'm tired of hearing British voices. Give me John Anderson, okay? Give me him who is just as knowledgeable, just as passionate, just as much of a great guy calling sports. I want him there, damn it. So
it's interesting. John actually, when he commentated the Olympics, he announced alongside one of my favorite announcers, Rob Walker, who he's probably, in my opinion, the best pure athletics announcer. I know it's funny whenever I comment that on social channels that happen to have other British people in the comments, they'll often cite Peter Drury. Here's a great soccer or football announcer. So, I mean, he's a guy that I got to probably listen to a little bit more if I want to understand that. I'm not the biggest soccer fan. Sorry, football fans or whatever you call it.
Hey, listen here. I'll give a quick story about that, though. Americans need to stop apologizing for calling it soccer because, fun fact, soccer is a slang that came from the Brits in Oxford back in the day. They were calling the posh Brits in Oxford at the time. I think this was in like the 20s. And they were separating rugby and soccer because in Britain, it was called rugby football and association football were the two separates. So we're calling the rugby players ruggers and the association players soccers. So Americans took that, and that's why we call it soccer. So we're not wrong for calling it soccer.
All I want to know is, did the Oxford comma exist back then?
I don't know, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I land on the Oxford comma. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. But I digress there.
John Anderson, all the love to him. I think the one thing that I really actually, now that you mention it, I want to hit on is that he is a friend first. And no matter where I go or end up, I never want to really be thought of it as anything else first. I know that's not exactly the way that I'm being formalized here, but with everybody that I come in contact with at these local meets, right? That's one of the big areas where I had to do a lot of dirty work, but people appreciate and see that I took the time to get to know their stat lines when I was starting out, when I might not have known their stat lines. And over time, seeing them meets after meets, you get to become friends with them, their families. I'm sure you guys, having been to multiple meets, can say the same.
Yeah, and and the thing is too, you're doing it the right way because when you're young, you got to grind, right? When you're young, you do have to do some of those things, and like you said, like you sit next to Phil Grove, and you know that what Phil has done as a veteran, and when you meet a John Anderson or some of these other individuals that took the time, have been doing this for 30 years and things like that, like sometimes it's better to just sit back and learn and listen and watch and take advantage of the fact that you're seeing someone prepare the right way, and maybe you had a way that you do it, and then you're looking and going, okay, maybe that is a better way, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you could take all that and it makes you just better at what
Sure.
you do, in every which way. So here's one thing that I've always thought of with track, and I think that Dave praises the athletes lounge of flow track a lot, and I think that it's also a good thing. But I look at track in so many ways, so similar to some of the other quote unquote boringish sports, right? With your golf, your tennis, your baseball,
You're nasty.
where there is NASCAR is not boring. Be quiet. Where there is, but there is that storytelling commentary aspect that I think needs to go side by side. Because when you listen to a baseball game, it is a radio show with baseball intertwined. Like
Yes.
that's what you're listening to. They tell their stories, they have their
Yeah.
conversations, and the pitch high and
Listen,
outside, and then back to the story. And
I
like
grew up listening to Phil Rizzuto, and he would just
Phil,
come
yeah,
up with these amazing.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
and I
Now,
feel
yeah,
And I feel like there's some of that with track, maybe not in race, but I feel like between races, because there is so much of that downtime between races where I think that that's where we can maybe see an improvement with the report, where we start telling these stories. And where's the value of having, like Dave said, some of these former athletes, right?
Mhm.
And some of these people that are in and do a little more storytelling. They do it in tennis, they do it in golf, they do it in all of these spots. What about you, someone that's up there? Do you guys take that time in between races to really prep for the next race to see who's there? Or is there time to maybe share a story to grip those fans?
Oh, absolutely. Storytelling, we really don't on our Mile Split New York live streams take any commercialized breaks. And
No, no.
that's the thing, right? We are on a continuous live
We-
stream. We've got audience members tuning in for the span of 10 upwards of 10 hours per day.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're operating on a rolling schedule just as they are. And they only want to know one thing: what's coming next? What do I need to look out for? What could I possibly look out for that might not be my son or daughter that's about to compete on this live feed? There's a whole bunch of things to consider. And that's why, even still, I try to, whenever I have a broadcast or anything upcoming, I just try to have a general understanding of how the meet's going to go. Maybe not
Yeah, yeah.
so much a specific handwritten sheet of every single event, which may, again, like you said, need to change once I get to higher levels.
Yeah, maybe.
With the repetitions that I've gotten, with the familiarity that I've gained with my great friends in the great state of New York, from Mile Split New York, once I'm on that broadcast for the state meet, with or without my good friend Taylor Masetta, who's come on for the last two state meets, indoors and outdoors, just always having something to guide the viewers, to make them feel like you're talking to them,
Yes.
and almost make them think to themselves as if they're part of the conversation.
Now I have a question.
100%.
Is it a different mind frame when you're calling a high school meet as opposed to like a pro meet? Because, like I would imagine that there's a lot more stories that you can tell from a pro athlete, like training perspectives, whereas we might not have that insight on what's going on at the high school level. So like, do you have to prepare yourself differently depending on the caliber of a meet that you're at?
Definitely. And I would say it's more so the story selection, not so much the stories themselves, because if you cite a quote from a high school athlete that doesn't have a whole lot of exposure or public interviews, right? If you cite something that they say, that gives them leverage.
Yeah.
But professional athletes, they've had a lot of stuff set out there. When they enter mix zones after races, they have a general understanding that the reporters know who they are, know where they've been, and want to know where they're going. And so that's why when, let's say in the few instances, like I'll bring up the Grant Fisher world record attempt at BU in the 5K for Valentine. I was going to be on color there, which is also an unfamiliar position. Not that I don't do that when I'm solo commentating, but I'm primarily a lead play-by-play guy with my broadcast background. So is Phil. That was his meet to call and bring Grant through the line, and he did such a phenomenal job. But that's where you have to know your role whenever you step on the mic. And I made sure to gather specific quotes based on recent races like that Milrose Clash where he beat Cole Hocker to the line, like
Yep.
that New Balance Indoor Grand Prix 1500 where he talked about exceeding his expectations from a speed perspective right there. Just having specific details like that handy can really help whenever you cover something that requires it or calls for it.
And I can imagine it's also different too when you're looking at a high school meet and there is hundreds of athletes, right? Like there's a lot and you can't possibly know every
No.
single one. You'll know your top athletes and
You need
maybe like if you see a sneak person fit into a final, okay, let me do a little research on this individual,
Yeah.
right? I
You
might
got to
have to
have your
talk
side
about them.
tap.
Yeah, gotta have a little bit. But I'd imagine at the pro meet, it almost doesn't matter whether they were a world champion or not, they're pros. And I'm just from the way I look at it to prepare, I'd at least want to respect their time that, if they do go out and do something great and surprise everyone, I would never want to be caught and being like, crap, I don't know their name or anything they've done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you
Mhm.
look at it that way? Or like when you're going to call like a bigger meet like that, like at least if they are a pro, let me know a little bit about them just in case, in case I need to talk about them.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most difficult trap you can get caught in, especially because there are some things that might happen at meets like live results might not be firing on all cylinders, so you can't check the hit numbers. Maybe sometimes
Yeah.
you can't even see the hit numbers. I've made all those mistakes before at different levels, but thinking back to some of the high school meets where that may have happened for a specific athlete,
Yeah.
those are some of the toughest moments that you have to deal with when you're self-critical, when you listen back to a broadcast, when you hear that awkwardness in your voice. Yes, to my fellow future aspiring broadcasters, I've experienced it and I'm openly admitting it. I am infallible. But what I then do, what I've really become a lot better at, and I would like to say that with pride, yes, is I've been able to say to myself, hey, you're going to get another chance to call that athlete in another race. Whether or not they win, you're going to have your details completely ready for them. And it's just that ever pushing for higher, more prepared, and constant dedication to the process that keeps me moving in the right direction, or at least I would hope to think.
Are there any reporters, like obviously New York State's kind of your wheelhouse, right? Are there any reporters that you'll go to, like maybe like we're in the early season of XC? Well, kind of not really. We're getting into more mid-season. But are there any reporters that you will do a round with at the beginning of every season and be like, are there any dark horses I need to know about on the men's and women's side that we don't already know about? Do you have a relationship like that with any of the state reporters? Because obviously you're one of the top state reporters that people are looking to in terms of your commentary and your news. But I feel like some of the regional reporters or some of the small local papers maybe have a little bit of a better pulse because they have some more relationships with some of the local coaches. So is there anyone, or is there like a round of like people you maybe text like, are there some freshmen to look out for? Are there any sophomores that are maybe rising that you've seen, yada, yada?
Sometimes I think if there's any news reporters that I'm close with it are probably people from my local area, the greater capital region in New York, the 518 as we call it, that's our area code, so I have
You
those
and your Shaker
relationships.
boys up there and all that
Oh yeah.
group.
I assume you are familiar with their 4x8 legendary era.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I was at Marist from 2007, 2012. So Shaker was really good at that time as well. And we had some Shaker boys on the team and they were very proud to let us know they were from there.
The Blue Bison were very proud to become Red Foxes, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The
Yeah.
Marist and Fear the Fox. We finally got a track, baby. I'm pumped for that.
So yeah, back to the question though. When it comes to the rest of the state, that was really the bigger challenge once I started doing meets outside of Section 2.
Yep.
And what I feel has been the biggest help to me getting to know all of the athletes, no matter whether they're 5 minutes from me or 5 hours from me, is social media. I have gotten in touch with a lot of athletes over social media. We'll follow each other, and sometimes I'll maybe say an encouraging thing or two about the results, because that's a really good habit that I've tried to make. Always see the good in people's results, even if not everybody has a good meet every time. Knowing what people can do when you hop on that mic and when their name comes in your crosshairs, that's an important thing to have on your priority list. I will say, outside of the athletes themselves, I got to give her another shout out. Taylor, my co-announcer, Taylor Macetta. We got to have her on Talking in Ovals. That's all I'm saying.
Would love
that. She and I are always texting each other about any meets that we work. She works as an announcer at the Armory over the winter season, so she'll always update me on the Section 1, which is Westchester and downstate, as we almost unanimously consider it, with a few exceptions. And Section
Where do you
9.
guys consider the Hudson Valley? Are we
Yeah.
just the Hudson Valley? Because that's where I am.
Oh man, let's see. I would say it extends at least an hour north of you in the Poughkeepsie area.
Okay. All right. I guess we're still downstate-ish.
I know. I would like to think that you're like the borderline of upstate and downstate. Or
It's hilarious.
I would even argue that Middletown, where the state meet was held this past outdoor season, was the borderline, because you can kind of sense that mixture of suburbia and city life gone too far north.
There's going to be a lot of people up there this weekend for the Bodo meet.
Oh yeah, the Bodo meet. That's a showdown. I forgot Bodo meet was this weekend. Man, I might have to make it this Saturday. Damn it!
CBA's going again, right?
CBA, Manalapan, Haddonfield. Yeah,
it's become such a showcase, and Bowdoin's always been a tough course. It's one of the tougher courses. The whole second mile is uphill.
I've never been there. I've never seen
Dave. You would love.
How did I make it there before you?
Well, because he's in Jersey, is no reason to come up here. We have Homedale over there, so we have Homedale and Battle of Monmouth. So there's really no reason to go anywhere more. Like Homedale, I think was voted the hardest course in the country.
Cities,
yeah, which is the new Homedale, maybe not, but still, but. It's Bowdoin has become I love that it's become a showcase, and it's in my backyard. I should actually go this weekend because I am Bowdoin is technically Wappingers.
Show your daughters a XC meet.
I don't want to have them watch a bunch of like 120-pound dudes soaking wet run up a hill.
They do.
Well, if you want them to love cross country,
they're way too young for that.
You have to know that they're going to love those hills if you're going to show them at Bowdoin.
Get them tired, man. Say, hey, you guys have to run up that hill before we go home. And then
Dave, you and I both know that getting them exhausted doesn't always work, because if they sleep on the way home, then they're a terror when they get up.
Nothing worse than falling asleep on the ride home. Like, no.
My little one does it all the time.
But they're not going to bed.
Yeah.
So, what suggestions from your time doing commentary? How can we improve track and field commentary? Because always the goal, especially with sports, is to get more people that aren't fans to become fans, right? That is honestly the name of the game, and commentary is the first line, right? Because interesting commentary brings people in. That's why football, I think, especially has like the biggest criticisms, right, for commentary. Baseball, obviously, your regional commentary. We're New York Yankees fans. How long have people been complaining and not complaining about Sterling and
Michael Kay?
Michael Kay, and so it's like commentary is the most important part to a production. So in your time that you've been there, and obviously you've been doing it for 4 years, and some people might listen to us go, what does he know? But what would you think can be an improvement from the commentary side to bring more casual fans in and get them interested?
This is a really good question and topic, and I'm glad you brought up the Yankees bit at the end, because the guys like John Sterling and Michael Kay were some of the voices that helped me fall in love with sports and just being nostalgic over sports to begin with. It was around the midway point of my high school career where I started to try and make a conscious effort to know who was talking at all time, because as I've found, when you're a casual, you might not be able to tell the difference between two voices. I've had people mistake my voice for another announcer, and that's it is what it is, right? That's the big effort to getting your own voice out there. But in terms of making commentary correlated with improving the sport, I think you just have to think about what other announcers do and always being attentive to that. Like, he gets a lot of criticism, like you said, but Joe Buck is a guy that I think has always been good at being minimalistic when it comes to his commentary. I noticed Paul Swangard play a little bit of those cards down the stretches of these latest world championships. Like, once Cole Hocker made the move, he would say, Cole Hocker to the lead. And then the next 5 seconds as he pulled away, you could hear the crowd maybe a little bit start to escalate the moment. And then boom, world champion.
I think Joe Buck got better as we heard him next to Chris Collinsworth a few times. And we're like, all right, Joe Buck's not that bad. But no, I mess with Chris Collinsworth, but Chris Collinsworth he's gotten better. Chris has gotten better, unless Patty Mahomes or Josh Allen are playing. Outside of that, he's fine.
Last night was kind of rough.
I mean, and I think
I'm a Giants fan. It was very rough. Yeah,
that has got to be tough to not show some favorites, right? Because obviously you're fans of certain athletes, especially in track, and I saw a really cool moment. I think Flo may have shared it, someone where they were interviewing Jessica Hall, and Jessica was talking about, what having Tokyo in the time zone of Australia meant for the Australian athletes to be able to watch it. And as she's in the thing, all of a sudden it's when Cole was making her move, and she stops mid sentence. She's like, "Come on, Cole! Come on, Cole!
Oh,
Yes,
that's
Cole, he
awesome.
deserved that." And like, it's like a cool moment
It is.
there that you get to see. And I just think like all those little things, and that kind of goes into like showing favorites, right? Like, I don't know if Jessica Hall wanted to show that she's like, but obviously Cole's a fan favorite of everyone. We
Sure.
all like Cole Hocker. But do you have to kind of find yourself like, especially at the high school meets, kind of tampering down your excitement for certain athletes that maybe you've built like a relationship with through interviews and things like that, and trying to stay as even keel and objective as possible?
Definitely in terms of the partiality. In terms of the excitement, there's sometimes where I just can't contain it.
Well, that's not a bad thing, right? To be
Right. No.
excited for a race.
Yeah. And maybe sometimes if it's an athlete or a relay team that I might not have as many stat lines upon, just having a way to keep yourself in front of the race and have a way to put it into perspective, right? Analyze it. Maybe take the viewers as to how they got it done. If it's, not making sense to them as they're watching, like, how did we just win the state championship?
Yeah.
Well, let this track nerd tell you how, or just
Yeah.
let these two track nerds tell you how, if I've got a co-announcer, because track nerd is another way of saying track fanatic. And that's
Yes.
really the perspective that I try to bring when I'm on the air, in addition to being a friend of the athletes in person whenever I'm doing interviews or just attending meets, whatever it be. That's the perspective that I always try and carry with me on the air, so that I can help bring that out of the viewers, not in so much as just talking to them, but I've been told by a couple producers too, if I'm getting excited about something that's happening in a race, they'll just like jump. And these are producers from Flow Track that are more so from the Flow Sports umbrella that may not be track mains. So
Yeah.
that's reassuring to hear coming from non-track people, because that means that things that I and other commentators are doing have an effect on them.
Sure.
So have you found yourself being more of a runner, having to do a little more homework and learn a little more when it comes to the field events, in terms of um, who's competing, when they're competing, and what kind of marks mean? Because I found that as I've started doing this more,
Sure.
kind of discovering the marks that are good, and a lot of the marks that are good for women is different, right? Because I'm a guy, I focused more on guys my whole life, and it's like then having to kind of translate and correlate. I understood on the track what the translation was in terms of what's a good woman's mark versus a good men's mark. Jumping, throwing has been a little bit different. I kind of know what the world standard is, but what's good, what's elite? Have you to have to find yourself doing more homework there to kind of know when this mark is a state level mark as opposed to a regional level, as opposed to an elite level mark for all the disciplines and the different sexes and things like that?
Sometimes it's situational. Mostly, as someone who's worked with Mile Split and Flow Track, we're notorious for prioritizing the track when it comes to our streams, and
It's
not always.
easier to
Yeah.
to view on. You get one
That's-
camera on the track and a little bit following around, and it's
Yep.
easier.
But I will say, whenever there's a state championship on the line, we'll always try and have a few field event storylines handy, because
Yes.
that matters. And even if there's a separate field stream, it's always important to remind the viewers what else is happening, because
Yes.
you've heard. I would sure hope that this is not the first time that we've heard this on Talking in Ovals, but it's track and field for a
We
reason.
hear it all the time.
Yep.
And it's nice to always revisit the field events in my last minute prep for state meets, because that's where you get to see, though, oh man, this is where this three-way battle that I've been just kind of side-eyeing all season is about to collide and come to fruition. And it's exciting to see what happens and just give those updates and get a chance to contextualize them. I'll say one particular instance of where I first really took that proactivity from the field event perspective. Ryan Buskey, one of the kids who I've had on my own podcast, In Full Stride,
Nice.
he was just a freshman. He was barely even familiar with the high jump. He was a basketball kid, and he shows up to the state qualifiers with a PR of 6'2". Pretty good for a freshman. And then he clears that. Good. He goes up to 6'4". He clears that. And then the next thing you know, he's clearing 6'6". And according to the miles the mile split database for New Yorkers dating back to 2000, that would have been a freshman state record. Now, Joe Galliano, a very legendary Long Islander from Center Reach back in 1987, jumped 6'8" as a freshman. So it wasn't quite a state record as I had almost assumed improperly that it was.
Right.
But still, that's when, I first realized, okay, this is where the records are. This is where the records could go. And sure enough, Buskey, he's gotten the junior state record and the indoor state record, I believe. No, he tied the outdoor New York state record.
That's
7'3".
fantastic. That's good jumping right there. And he's gonna have to pick a litter in school. That with a 7'3", he's gonna have a lot of schools coming to look for him. And and there's a reason why, when we open up the show, I say running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, because I want to encompass marathoners. I want to encompass triathletes, because I think they're as much a part of athletics. We had Ironman athletes on the show and things like that. And I think that I just want to encompass all of these sports that I think fall into the realm of athletics. And it's definitely important to remember that field is there. And we're always seeking to have more field athletes on the show, because Dave and I are both middle distance runners.
What do we always say? Like, besides many flaws, one of the biggest things that Grand Slam screwed up on was not having any field. Like, you mean to tell me that people wouldn't want to watch Ryan Krauser and Mondo in between
Tara
races?
jumping, doing amazing things. And the thing is too, it's like, and again, but it didn't go with their tagline. Their tagline was only the fastest. So what are you going to do? You're going to clock that. I mean, that might be cool, seeing who could throw the shot put the hardest, or the disc the hardest, not necessarily the furthest, but like put like a clock on how hard they throw it. Ryan Krauser just threw a shot put 65 miles an hour.
That's a deadly weapon, man.
I don't even know if I could throw a baseball that hard. I probably could. I did used to play baseball back in the day.
My shoulder would be with the ball.
Wherever it hurts now just thinking about it. Oh my God.
I by Dave's shoulder. The thing that they really messed up on was not including a thrower 4x1 at Grand Slam track.
That's the best.
Hey, listen, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be politically correct. We have always called it this way. It is the 4x fat, and the big men will say it too, okay? That's what we used to call it back in the day, because they would call themselves the fat men.
That's what they always called it.
And they called it themselves the 4x fat. That is what the throwers, when they got the
back in the 90s,
yeah, even the 2000s, when they got the chance to do it and they took pride. I think it was.
Oh, they loved it.
What was it? It was
every year they had it at Rebel Relays at
Rebel Relays. Yes, it was a Rebel. And I remember Manchester, we always had ringers, because we had like two guys that were 100-meter runners that also threw disc and jab. Yeah. So we'd always have like ringers that we'd have guys that are running 10-9 and 11-1 in the big man relay, and we would just go and dominate that for years, and it was so much fun.
It's crazy. I was doing some very dirty research, because not only do I geek out on random track races through the past decade or so, but I'll geek out on random stats for other sports like football. Joe Staley, a legendary offensive tackle for the 49ers, I recently discovered that he was a 21.9 200-meter sprinter. He's an offensive tackle. He's supposed to be the big mauler on the quarterback's blind side, and he runs faster than you. Like,
and
what?
The thing is, in the NFL too, and like this is kind of a sidebar, but in the NFL, that's the change in terms of the speed of the game. It's not necessarily the skill players like your running backs and your receivers. It's the fact that your big 300-pound guys are still running a 5-second 40. Like, that is the difference between that. And a lot of those individuals, let's bring it back to track, we're throwers, we're jumpers, we're sprinters, right? The correlation between how many of the guys in the NFL were probably state level, if not state championship throwers, right? Because they use that. And I know a lot of coaches, the smart football coaches, promote that, because not only are you getting the guys in the weight room and they're lifting for explosion, but they're also getting their footwork better. Because what is better than teaching an individual how to do a proper, spin, whether it is the shot or the disc? And if you have the hammer in your state, that is full control of your body and your core and things like that. So any football coaches listening, if you're a smart coach, tell your athletes to go do track, because it'll only make them better in every which way. But no, I like that too, because there are these awesome former stats of individuals that are just really, really good. There's a lot of baseball players that end up becoming to a javelin guys, because that's a good motion for them. So that's just a ton of fun. And I can imagine you having like these little side things would help in terms of the commentary at times, right? Like,
Absolutely.
hey, did you know that this individual also plays football and he's a state championship linebacker? And then that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and even if I don't necessarily have all of the former athlete level statistics or credentials to my name, just having experienced it by my own free will and just seeing the effect that it has on me and understanding the ways that it transforms quite literally my body.
Yeah.
That's a real game changer from an analytical perspective.
So I want everybody, whenever you see a race at BU or something going on mile split New York, definitely tune in because there's a good chance that you're going to hear Carson on the call. So 100% go there. But I want to jump into, let's talk about some Worlds, baby, because Worlds just finished up. And as Dave has been saying, the American women, I think, had a fantastic meet. Championships up and down. Anna Hall gets her redemption from the Olympics, and I'm pumped for her over there in the.
I didn't know she was dating Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton,
the Giants. I had no idea.
And I said to you the same thing I'll say here. Good for Darius, man. But
I was calling my buddy who was a Giants fan. It was his birthday last night. He was, he might have had a few drinks. It was good though, because he was in fine spirits and he was like, God, I hate Darius Slayton. And I said, did you know his girlfriend just won Worlds?
I always love when they do that too. When they will have a football player and things and that, and they'll make the comment and they're like,
yeah,
that is so-and-so's husband who is an Olympic champion or a world champion. And it kind of puts into perspective. It's
no. Darius Slayton is Anna Hall's boyfriend. She's not his girlfriend.
But that's what I mean. That's how they put it, because in the perspective, it's don't get me wrong, Darius Slayton's a millionaire, extremely talented wide receiver, even though he hasn't had an amazing career, but still talent levels here.
Sure.
But he is dating a world champion and arguably the greatest female athlete in the world, because I consider your multi-champions are your best athletes on the planet.
Sure.
So for me, Anna Hall's the greatest female athlete in the world, and any multi-champion should win the ESPY for best athlete of the world every year. It should never go to any other athlete. But I digress with that. So let's get into some fun events. I'll share my screen over here. Let's talk about some of the results. I'm going to start with the men's 100 here, because I thought this was interesting, because a lot of us, I think, were curious what exactly Noah was going to do. I honestly thought we'd get a better performance out of Kenny, right? I thought Kenny was going to run better.
I thought they both run mid 9.8s or better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, good for Oblique. 977 is nothing to slouch at. Now, Kashane Thompson, what do we want to say about Kashane? Because I'm very mixed on Kashane. We had this result when we talked to Phil. And I'm looking at this and going, are we going to consider Kashane possibly a potential bust at this? Because, man, I thought Kashane was going to be the next Usain Bolt. And he's shown flashes of it, but Usain Bolt was just so damn consistent for 4, 5, 6 years.
I think it just shows how hard it is to win the 100 meters, man. It's such a grueling, not grueling in terms of effort, but it's just so hard. They're all so good. It's Noah could have won. I mean, and I think Seville's just finding, he's Bolt's guy, he's the guy who Bolt kind of endorses. So I don't know, but I'm just glad that the Jamaicans dropped the stick in the 4x1 after looking at these results. And
you look at that there, Kenny, with the 0.211 reaction time. I was watching, I was scrolling through, and one of our former guests, Aaron Spider Brown, he pops up on my feeds, and Aaron's no fan of Kung Fu Kenny.
No.
But when
who is Aaron a fan of? I'm curious.
Aaron likes Oblique. He does like Oblique Seville.
He likes anybody that beats Noah.
Well, he ate a little crow with Noah in the 200. He admitted it. But
I was watching that live. It was hilarious.
But with Kenny, he did say Kenny slipped. There's Aaron's critical, but Aaron can be fair. I laugh hysterically. He got on Gaout so bad when Gaout didn't make the final, and he's been on Gaout.
Listen, I think the biggest story of this 100 was Tobogo just willingly accepting his disqualification.
Yeah, we talked about that with Phil. What do
Yeah.
you think of that, Carson, that he didn't even try to appeal it? He
All
just
right.
kind of looked and was like, okay, cool, and then just walked away. How do you feel about
And his comments,
Tobogo?
like,
And then,
their guy's time, or like I didn't want to waste anyone's time. Like,
but
what?
then let's pop over to here. I'll share this to do that. And then, no, not this. Where are we at? Not the 110s, the 200.
200,
And then
yeah.
to not place in the 200 after doing that, maybe my thinking is, I know I'm feeling.
I mean, that's fast.
I don't care. You didn't place. I'm sorry. Fourth doesn't matter. People don't remember third even. Okay.
True.
Right. So it's like to be the Olympic champion.
5 guys broke 20. Jesus.
But I just thought that him sitting there in the 100, maybe going, listen, I'll get a few extra days and I'll go and beat Noah. He was not near Noah. So Carson, how do you feel about that? Plus this result right here.
That you got to obviously consider the thought in the back of his mind, like, okay, I moved early, my mistake. I'll just rest up for the 200. I'll get a little bit of extra freshness, so to speak, since I won't have this final effort in my body. But the big thing that he missed out on in the 100, I feel like, is an opportunity to build momentum, because it's obviously a very alactic event. There's far more taxing events that you could run in between a false start and a 200-meter 3-round series. And for a guy like Tobogo, with the speed endurance that he has, he obviously
he dropped to 43, right? I mean,
in his split, he dropped the 43.03 last year. He has the 300-meter world record. He broke that from Wade Van Niekerk. And I just don't think he was his true self this entire season. Obviously, Noah wasn't his true self until the 200-meter finals at Tokyo.
Well, I've been saying it for this whole time that Noah's going to be fine. That Noah's building, and Dave knows this. I've been saying he came in late in the season, and I'm like, okay, he's been hurt. He knows something we don't. He trusts his training, and and I'm not going to knock her, but unlike Shikari, who didn't fulfill her results, and she suffered a little bit of a setback too in that comeback, right? She had a little mini nick up, so Noah had a much smoother comeback. But after I saw Noah, what was it? He ran like a 19.9 and looked easy. I'm like, he's good. He's fine. He's gonna be good.
Listen, he proved that he's still Noah. He's still best. And
his comments after he ran the 19.51, when someone was like, you just ran the fastest semi time in worlds, what does running a 19.51 mean? He's like, that I'm dumb enough to run a 19.51 in the semi. Like that self-deprecation is something that, to your credit, Dave, he's developed that we haven't seen in the past.
I like, and like, he was so complimentary of Gout saying, hey, what do you think of this kid? He's like, he's better than I was at 17. He's like, kid's good.
Yeah.
Carson, what do you think of Noah? Are you a fan of Noah? I like Noah. I love his antics.
I like him more
What
now.
do you think about Noah?
I mean, though I don't really know much about the anime references he makes in his pre-race
I'm an anime nerd. Let's go.
That's where we differ, but we can find common ground in being fans of Noah Lyles. I wouldn't say that he's like my all-time favorite sprinter, because I again try to show that impartiality whenever things happen, because you got to keep your eyes open for just about every storyline that could develop. I would have been happy for Kenny if he won. I would have been happy for Brian Lavelle if he won in his first global final.
And Lavelle is going to be a problem. I think you're looking at Oblique Seville and Lavelle. That future in Jamaica looks really good.
Yes.
Yeah, and just a little more experience, knowing not to run 19.8 in the heats, Lavelle could probably get a bit closer to that sub 19.6. He looked easily in 19.5 for him based on what I saw in the heats and the semis. It's just that third round that he might not have been used to prior to Tokyo that might have shocked him a little bit. But hey, he held off the Olympic champion Tobogo, so he deserves the credit for that first global medal. But
got a bronze, man. Yep.
What does this mean for Kung Fu Kenny? What does this mean? Because this is now his fourth silver in a row at a world and Olympic event in this event. What is this? Like, are we always going to remember? Because I texted with Dave. Yeah. Is this one of MJ's rivals where he just can never get past? Are we just going to remember Kung Fu Kenny?
I said this is Otto Bolden or Frankie Fredericks.
Is that where we're going to end up with Kenny Bednarik? Because I think Kenny's so good for the sport. He and he looks the part of just a sprinter too, right? He looks like that guy that can be like Captain America type of looking dude. Yeah. Is this just his role at this point? Like every time he gets better, so does Noah, so does somebody else. Like it's tough with Kenny. I'm a big fan of his.
The window isn't wide open. Obviously, you've got to respect his JUCO background, and coming from 2019, where Noah was winning his first world title, Kenny had gotten injured at USA's and only got a wild card spot to run at Worlds where he didn't even make it out of the heat. So just
Yep.
considering where he's come from, you cannot help but be a fan of his when you consider that. But it just seems like Kenny is the perfect example. You can maybe consider Oblique in this as well, but coming into that men's 100 meters, I think the big concern I had for Kenny was that matchups wise, he just didn't really favor very well against the three other big players. You don't see him beating Noah Lyles ever. You don't see him beating Kashane or Oblique in 100-meter races. When you put all those four guys on the same line, you're going to need to beat those guys that you can't beat if you want to win those world titles. And that's just the last thing that Kenny really needs to unlock. He's run spectacular times, 979 and obviously 19.5 in the 200 with all that 400-meter endurance and experience that he has. But just conquering those, whatever contributes to those sluggish 0.211 reaction times and those poor starts, he's just got to overcome that. And that just comes down to having the right day, in my opinion.
But who else but Noah Lyles runs a 9.4 for the second 100? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that was his back end 100. And we always know guys are running 9.6, 9.5. That's what they run in that back end 100.
Kenny did run 9.49, 9.49, and Tavoho 9.48. But like you said,
Noah was Jesus.
And that
he
wasn't
consistently does it. That wasn't
even his, that wasn't even his best back 100.
No, he's been like 9.3 and change. But then again, that's where I think everyone, like track fans, are looking and going, if somebody can get Usain Bolt with that back end speed, if Noah figures out the start, he's easily the guy that will be the closest, right? Because of that.
As of now,
that's Usain Bolt's way he finishes. That's the same thing. Usain Bolt was coming in your 9.3s, and things like that. And that's why he was so powerful. So, kudos to Kenny and kudos to Noah. But I think Brian Lavelle is someone that, as Noah and Kenny get older, Brian Lavelle is just going to start to come into his prime more and more. So he's someone we have to 100% look at. So quickly, Dave, for you, we're going to jump into this. We're going to stick with the men. We'll go to the women. We'll go men then women. This is one of the American champions, Cordell Tinch. Got over here and ran.
That guy. He was running at D2. Not Pittsburgh University, but like Pitt State or something. I forget the actual name. And now he's winning world championships. I mean, what a great, that's why this sport is amazing. You always hear like someone from Walmart. I mean, it's why it's great and it's why it's not great, because these people shouldn't be working at Walmart. They should be training
with that one
full time and having jobs. But Cordell Tinch, man, awesome.
Yeah. So good job on Cordell. We want to jump in there, but this is in your wheelhouse real quick, Carson. 400 meter.
Oh yeah.
And you look at this, like Dave said, the Botswanans, all, they were all there. Two of them get on the podium. Our lone American, Ja'Cory Patterson, did not have a good race. 44.7 is not Ja'Cory Patterson.
He went too hard, I felt, in the first round.
That is not his standard. I feel like and I think the issue with this, Ja'Cory Patterson quite literally saw the podium, right? I think he saw in this race that he can run a 44.2. Like, he is up there. Like, that is Ja'Cory Patterson's level. And I know he's going to be disappointed, but
he ran 43 point in the first round.
And no shame with the two guys up front, 43.5 and 43.7. Nope. A great time. Jareem Richards is no surprise. We've seen Jareem Richards be really good.
Yes.
I always mess up Kebenachippi's name. Kebenachippi? I can't say his name.
I've been pronouncing it Kebenachippi, but I think it's Kebenachippi. I've heard more emphasis on that first or that second of the three eyes.
And I think it also depends on who's announcing it, right? Like who's saying it. If you have a little more of that background, then you'll say it. But I'm sorry I always apologize for butchering names. Okay.
Do you know what I am noticing here? It's the first time in a long time. No Karani James. First time in how long?
That's right.
How long has he been on there? I mean, I just thought of that now because like his name's just been in the finals for so long.
Can they send Karani an honorable medal? Because he deserves just like a bronze. At least
he's not even that old.
I've got this stat. It was 2017 in London the last time he wasn't in a global final. I think that might have been the year he was battling Graves' disease. But the last time before he came on the scene that he wasn't in a global final was Berlin 2009.
Yeah, think about that. 16 years of just, and he's still only like 32. Like he's not that old. Yeah. I mean, he's probably past fine, but like, I mean,
you're just so used
Ronnie James is just been what a career.
Yeah.
But this is disappointing for the Americans. But at the same time, it was a down. It was a down year in terms of Quincy getting hurt.
People say like, I can't believe we didn't win the 404. There's 3 people from Botswana in the finals.
Yeah.
We weren't even the favorites. I didn't think. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, plus luckily we were able to run the race back and then get 4 brand new fresh guys, which no other country could ever. Like, if any other country had to run the run in, then they would have been done because they don't have 4 fresh people, and one of them being Rye freaking Benjamin, as one of them. So so I'm like, listen, we were fresh. They beat us.
To not have a single guy run a 43, though.
It's crazy.
That's weird in America, right? Americans at least have that 143, that 143-second guy there that anchors and holds it down. And that was the major difference, right? That was honestly the major difference in winning it and not. But let's continue here with some fun results. You mentioned Rye real quick. We'll give Rye a shout out for his 400-meter hurdle victory, which was iffy at a point because he was DQ'd for a moment. Which was a weird situation. Carson, did you watch that race? And what did you think when they announced the DQ? Did you think he was going to get DQ'd?
I was actually in the airport on my way back from the Wingfoot Cross Country Classic, the most recent meet I announced in Cartersville, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. And I was just checking, and all of a sudden, I was actually, because there were no TVs and I didn't have Peacock or any of that. So I was literally watching on the live reaction to Aaron Brown's live stream. And I hear Rye DQ'd, and all of a sudden Aaron just starts going crazy. And then I'm just checking Twitter/X, and I'm just like, what? Why? And then I watch the race, and then they mentioned the last hurdle, and of course how it interfered and fell into Nathaniel Ezekiel's lane. And I was just like, man. So all of that pre-race fun banter about Karsten, and Allison, and all the conversations obviously leading up to Worlds that I need not delve further into for Rye to get DQ'd in the most anticlimactic World Championship ever.
Rye showed us the biggest heart.
So I want to say this when it comes to Carson Warholm,
he didn't look good the whole meet.
He didn't.
He did not look on. He just didn't
he wasn't aggressive.
He didn't even win his semis.
It's like he was just not even making it a priority to win his heat. It's ironic too, because I think he said after the semi that he was hoping by finishing in a certain place that he'd draw his favorite lane. He didn't even draw his favorite lane. And that's obviously 7 for those that don't know, but he drew lane 4, which I don't even know why he would not want that lane, because that's
the great lane.
First won his world championship back in 2019, but I digress once again. It was that 3rd hurdle though. He just went too hard. He hit it and just completely ruined his momentum. And that's the thing that has always been so tough about the hurdles from my outsider's perspective. It's just the momentum factor. Absolutely. It's like there are just such minuscule disruptions that can occur that can alter entire race plans. And we saw that with Karsten, one of the best ever to it.
It's just a brutal race, man. It's just a brutal race.
After hurdle 7, you're going to be hurting and you're going to be fighting anyway. There is no momentum. So to get it hurt on hurdle 3, to then have to hit that wall again, I couldn't even imagine. I'm happy I decided to hurt myself in the 800 mostly instead of the 400 hurdles, which doesn't make it much better. But quickly to 800, Wanyani just being Wanyani, doing great things. But it's crazy. We saw no Americans here, right? And to see the times still run where Americans have run well, but look at all these. All of them under 143. Has there ever been a world final where every single finisher finished under 143?
Not just
and 142.77 doesn't place.
142.77 gets you last.
It is wild. And at the top 3, this was Olympics all over again. This has to be the race that doesn't disappoint, because once again, unlike we're going to talk about some of the distance races that there are no world champions in some of the distance races. But this, the 800 has to be the premier race that everyone points to now, because when Wanyani's there, and I love that there's been this guy lately, right? Whether it's Wilson Kipketer, whether it is David Rudisha, whether it is Emmanuel Wanyani, or any of them at this point, right? Because there isn't anyone with fear. If Donovan Brazier was there, he would have jumped up and tried to do that, right?
Wanyani takes it. That's what I like. Is he's out in sub 50 almost every time.
And and Sajadi's incredibly talented. Shout out to our North American brethren, Marco Arap, showing that he is still right there in world class. McPhillips over there from Ireland. I friggin' love seeing that for him. 142.
He had like a 4-second PR. It was
I love that. I love that. So
not as crazy as the PR in the girls 8 but
no, but this is fantastic. I just think, like, for me, like, being an 800-meter runner, like the chest puffs out a little bit. Like that's friggin' awesome to see in crazy races.
I just love watching Wanyoni, his wide eyes coming off the
Coming
turn.
down the stretch.
They call it the eyeballs out, and he's just. You shouldn't have as much reserve as that kid does, but he just
No.
finds a way to win these races. It's the way Nick Simmons described Muhammad Aman, the guy who beat him in Moscow 2013 when he almost became a world champion. But it's just like he has that drive to get to the finish line. And no matter how good we'll see Sajadi finish, no matter how good we'll see Marco O'Rourke run throughout the entire season, it just seems as though Wanyoni's been, like you guys said, that guy.
So do we see anybody from this group getting under 141?
Wanyoni.
I think you have to.
He's very young, so you
I really
can't.
thought-
It's too young to say no.
I thought world record was coming this year, but I mean, how many it's crazy that you see so many 141s. They were like
They're pushing each
never
other.
happened.
They're
are?
pushing each other, and
I
they're not
think-
going out slow. They're going out in 49, so it's not like
I love
they're
it.
not going after it.
Here's the challenge, I feel like, though, with breaking that world record in the 800. It's become up to a point where there are more guys than ever running 141. So it's not even as though they can focus on time trialing it like David Rudisha would do when he set his world records. These
They have to
guys are
race.
worrying about each other
Yep.
so much to the point where they end up just missing the world record, but still running another absolutely insane time, which just goes to show you the way the 800-meter landscape, I think, especially when you consider all events, even with the women's podium all getting 154s.
Yeah.
It's
We'll
like
get to them.
the volume of talent at such a high level just makes these events some of the most exciting to watch.
So I'm going to give my future prediction. If within the next 2 years, the 800-meter men's record isn't broken, we will see the whole podium break it at the Olympics. That race will go that fast. We will see. Because what happens a lot of the times is when these records are everyone's so close, it comes in a bunch, right? You'll get 2 or 3 break it at one time. I'm saying if Wanyoni, I'm putting him there because right now he is the guy that we have to peg that has the best chance.
Sure.
If he does not do it, then I think we will see the top 3, whoever it is at the Olympics, all go underneath the world record time. That is my bold prediction right here. You can go back to episode number 159 when they do it. Damn it. All right. So we're going to go on to one of the championships that doesn't count. Let's go right here. And Dave is going to argue with me on this, and that's okay. The men's 1500 meters. And it does not count because number one, that time is not the time that we expect after the Olympics, number one. And number two, it was boring. They ran like high schoolers for the first part of the race. And then because they have the fitness to come back hard, they made it a respectable time back in 1999. Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm not going to argue with him.
I'm really happy that Jake Whiteman came back and got a second place, but none of it counts. Okay. Because every single one of these individuals down to Samuel Filstrom was in this race. And there's no reason why Samuel Filstrom should be in this race. I like Sweden. He shouldn't be there. There's a handful of guys that are 330 sub guys, and none of them showed it. So therefore, I am declaring there is no champion in the 1500.
The only thing I don't like is that when we have all these championship slow races, I don't think we get a true determination of who the actual best runner is. It's just who can kick the best. So like they're not. I don't know. I mean, I get it, and that's what Diamond League is for. And like they don't care about time. Like I would ask any of these athletes, they don't care. Just like Centrowitz doesn't care that he won in 350. You know,
I'm not counting his anymore either.
In these worlds and these other ones, it's about place here.
He would have beaten Josh Kerr here.
Well, here's the thing: you can keep your championship, you just don't get paid. That would be my reference here. You don't get the prize money for being there. You can keep your gold. You just don't get paid because how am I supposed to take somebody who thinks track sucks and it's boring? And I'm looking at this field going, you're going to see at least a 329 out of this group and it's going to be fun. And then all of a sudden they come through in 159.
It
it's
is
like,
fun though.
Didn't you run that in high school? And it's like, yeah. Yes, I ran a 159 in high school.
It is fun though.
Like, no, it isn't, Dave. Not for us, it's fun because we're nerds. For the common person, watching them look like they're walking, it is
from that
boring.
perspective. Oh no, listen, 1500, I don't mind as much. 10K was a disaster.
Oh God, yeah.
Because here's the thing, NASCAR could be boring, but NASCAR they're going 160 miles every single time, so at least you're watching them go fast. Right? I
don't mind the 1500 as much because
I do. I hate it.
Because at least
so
like 334 is at least somewhere respectable. The 10K was at 2850 was just.
We'll get to the 10K. That's another one that doesn't have a champion.
No.
So,
Sorry,
so
Jimmy
that's
Garcia.
this is my first one. I declare this no champion. Sorry, Isaac Nader from Portugal. Again, Portugal. Who from Portugal runs a
He's
1500?
very
I
good.
will say. I will
I
say
know
this.
Nader is good.
I will say
Nader's a
this.
330 guy. I get it.
Nader's
The
very
man who finished third in the Athens 2004 Olympics behind Hisham El Garouj and Bernard Lagat was from Portugal. That was Rui Silva. So I think he'd be
Portugal
very,
has some
very
good
proud.
runners. Portugal has good runners. I'm messing with Portugal, but
You got good triple jumpers too.
yeah. Oh, Portugal. Listen, Portugal. They have a good athletics program. They're not the depth of some other countries, but they pop out world class guys. So I'm going to jump into here to another one that I think has a borderline champion. Not really. The 3K steeplechase, because this was another one that was an absolute slog. And to finish an 8:33, 8:8 at a world championship, I'm sorry. And I know, listen, it's Jordy Beeman. Like,
no, but that's why Jordy Beamish won. So
exactly.
Shame on Bakali for not just taking it.
And
Gurmo, whatever. I mean, Gurmo, he almost died last year.
Yes, but I will go ahead and Talking in Novels will declare no champion at this race.
Listen, I'm pumped for Gordy, especially after falling early on. But I mean, I think back to like
Slattery. It's an embarrassing race.
Like Steve Slattery and like Charles Mahoney, like give them a chance to be in this race, so like and just go for it, or like I don't know. It's a shame because people get so used to watching all these Diamond League meets where it's all about time, and then they forget that these athletes don't care about time.
But Dave, it's not just Diamond League; it's every other race outside of the World Championship.
And like, hopefully, with this and the 10K, people will see like it's only gonna if you go that slow, there's only like 4 or 5 people who have a chance to actually win. It's just
we're going away from that race. That race doesn't count. Here's a race that does count, though.
This one was good.
And again, is 12:58 the world beater time? No, but it's fast.
No, but it's
okay. And this was an honest paced race. Was it
due to Grant and Nico?
Was it the fastest you're ever going to see? No, but they kept it an honest, good race. Shout out to Kai Robinson over there, Stanford grad. We had Coach Santos on the show. Over there running fourth, 12:59, fantastic. But Cole Hocker, baby, 12th to first. The man with, I hate his race tactics. I really do at a world stage.
Smart here, though, because he stayed on the rail the whole time. So that was
smart. But you know what, though? At least he popped to the outside this time and didn't try to run.
He was in lane 2 in the last lap. He must have run 410 meters.
Good for Cole. I love this for Cole. And I think that this was one of the best performances of the meet. Obviously, you're going to give it to Sid. Sid gets the performance of the meet with the way she ran. But this is one of the best performances of the meet. Coming in 12:58, beating some really good runners in this race in an honest race.
After when things didn't go well, 15, he didn't sulk. He said, all right, let's go.
And you have Jakob down here finishing 10th.
Which he ran gutsy, man.
He ran gutsy, and his fitness wasn't there, but to come in and still run a 13:02 on no fitness, I would love to have that no fitness. Okay. So what about you, Carson? What's your commentary here on the 5K?
The 5K, I think it just illustrates what would have happened had Cole Hocker been in the 1500. I think with a race that developed like that, you've got a guy that's been closing 25-second 200 since his college days. There's no way.
Perfectly. Yep.
I don't think they run that race the same way if Cole's in it, because I think they know they have to try and stretch it out with him. But then again, they ran dumb, so maybe they would have.
I don't think it would have mattered.
So it's funny because a guy we mentioned earlier, Phil Grove, I messaged him as soon as the 5K wrapped up. I was like, man, you called Cole's first 5K of the season back at the BU Terrier DMR Challenge. He was alone there, so I was kind of just watching from the Flow Track live stream. But still, at that time in February, all the talk about the 5K was revolving around Grant Fisher, who I mentioned before.
Yep.
Phil and I were on the call for breaking the indoor world record, 12:44.09, just a week prior to that. And here comes Cole Hocker winning a nice chill sub-13 right alongside Cooper Tier, like we always used to see back when they were wearing the green and gold for Oregon. But now here he comes in September and translates that to a world championship. I don't think anybody would have predicted that, not at least in the 5K.
No, and like we said, it's weird that now the split has become not 8:15, which we always thought worked so well together, 15, not 5 and 10 that we always thought everyone did. It's now becoming this 15 5K, and for whatever reason the training that these guys are doing, which they're more distance oriented guys, is working. Because when we saw Cole try to run a fast 800, he ran like a 151 in Grand Slam. So it's like there is that massive gap in the different, and it might be the way that these distance runners are training differently in Colorado and how they're training, and training a little more like the Africans typically did in Colorado, and taking a lot of that training style is giving them a little more fitness. So good for Cole.
Shout out Nico Young, man. Your first ever Worlds.
Friggin' tough.
Ran tough, man. And he every step he looks like he's in pain, but he just keeps going and going and going. Shout out.
You know what though? It's easy to do when you're fresh after this embarrassing, not counting 10K.
Oh my gosh.
What?
I'll tell you who's counting it. Jimmy Gresser, that. And
Jimmy Gresser has one medal. It's a bronze. He doesn't have a gold. He has one medal. He has a bronze medal from that.
Listen, this race. I mean, it was a disaster.
It was terrible. And shame.
How about Nico Young beating Grant Fisher in both, huh?
Shame on Grant Fisher. Honestly, out of everybody, shame on Grant Fisher. You want to run fast all year. You want to sit there and prove that you're not bronze, that you're the best in the world, and you sit there and you allow this pace to happen. I'm sorry. I know people have said Grant's a nice guy. I am in this. I do this podcast because I talk about it. I'm passionate about the sport. And I will say to Grant, if he ever comes on this show, you ran soft. Okay? You ran soft. You relied on the fact that your legs moved fast a little bit this year and didn't realize you had 13 other world-class people on the line with you. Like, Jesus, I hate it. And there was such an old school American mentality of let's be afraid of everybody else and hope we can win late.
My theory is Grant did what he did last year. He said, all right, this year I'm going to change it up some. I'm going to get in shape early. I'm going to win some cash. I'm going to take care of me this year. I'm going to run Grand Slam, slow or we're not, which backfired completely because he never got even paid for that. But I don't think Grant was like, and then he was training for his mile and he got down to 3:48. So like, I just think he was too ready too early.
Then back out.
Agreed.
Then back out and give it to someone else that's hungry.
I mean, I still think he thought he was ready. I mean, but I don't know. I just think that I'm not worried about Grant going forward.
Grant's done half marathons where he splits faster than 28:57, probably in workouts.
But I don't blame just him. I mean, it was everyone.
As an American, I blame him because he's the class of our group. He's the best American distance runner in the history of man, and it's embarrassing that he did that. I'm sorry, it pisses me off to see it.
I just don't understand, like when they're in this race, like does nobody like think like, wow, like we're only 3 or 4 people can actually win now because it's going to go down to a kick. Like I can't understand the mindset that no one. You can't say
you're a fan of Steve Prefontaine and run that race. It doesn't. Those two things don't go. Period. You're not a fan of Steve Prefontaine if you allowed yourself to run that race. Period. End of story. Like, Carson, do you agree with me? This race doesn't count.
Well, if we're talking about earlier, the whole time barrier for actually constituting medals, it should have been probably a minute faster than this for us to consider any of this legit.
That's a respectable race.
I think minimum wise, it should at least be the qualifying standard, minimally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Minimally.
But you shouldn't just hit a standard to not hit it when championship time shows up. I think that we can all agree on.
Correct.
It's like if I were a sprinter and I had to break 50 seconds to get into New York States and then I show up the States and run 52. It's like, what was all that for? I mean, yes, great experience. But
we're going to see college kids in cross country close.
Here's the thing, and we were talking about it with Phil. Officials should have the ability at certain points in the race to pull athletes off. You're not hitting a time here. Get off the track.
What I want to see in next year, when there's no global final, I think they're going to try what's it called that they're the world?
Oh, the Diamond League, whatever it is.
Yep, whatever it is. Though it's like a world continental type of thing.
Yeah. What we need to see, at least on the distance front, we need to see elimination races. They need to bring out like the red wave lights, and that's actually going to inspire people to run like there's lava on the floor or something.
Or
I don't know.
Have tiers of money. If you make it, if you get this time, so the winners will get X, Y, and Z for places. But if you get sub 27, right, or whatever it is, you get X money. If you get within 27 to 27.15 money, 2015, here's tiers. So if you win the race in that time, plus you get extra money. And I think that'll actually make these individuals want to compete. Because this wasn't competing. This was not racing. This was watching a bunch of slow 400-meter runners leave it to 400 meters to try and run a race.
Here's what this was. This was 1996. Me and my Tom Dura South teammates going out for a cross-country run and everyone just racing the last mile home.
It was embarrassing.
Like that's what it was. It was just like, all right, everyone go, and everyone knew that everyone was going. And like it was just, I don't know, like it.
So let's go on to something not embarrassing.
Grant just got too far away from his identity. He just tried to do what other people were doing rather than what
Grant's always been a guy just.
I'm going to call it because, again, I don't care. And I don't know if Grant ever comes on the show because of this. Grant ran soft. He ran scared and he ran soft, period. You don't run that race unless you're nervous that you can't finish it the right way. And you got 10th anyway, bro. Go run the race. If you're going to finish like a Jakob. Okay, go run, have some balls, and then finish with a decent time. Don't go sit there and die it out. Make the race, damn it. Anyway, I digress.
Jakob, though, in the 5.
Jakob has been hurt for the whole year. I would take training for Grand Slam and running 28s in Grand Slam and 14 something in Grand Slam as a friggin' fitness workout over what Jakob went through.
Yeah.
All right. No excuse. I'm not giving him any excuse. Anyway,
women's 100.
This isn't embarrassing. Because Melissa Jefferson Wooden, who ran in Grand Slam, has no excuse, didn't use it, and ended up being dominant.
A little different.
10-6-1. No, it's not.
Well, it's
bite the teeth.
Different events than a 5 in a 5
going
training.
Full out 100. They lift significantly harder than distance runners. I am not going to say one over the other. You are asking her to sit there and lift her ass off in explosion to be ready for the same amount of time and then give 100% for 10 seconds and 20 something seconds. I'm sorry. Distance runners need to get out of this bubble that they work harder than elite sprinters. They do not. They are different. But I digress.
So I'm going to go on the record and say that Melissa Jefferson Wooden just had the greatest single season of any female sprinter ever.
Since FloJo.
Took the words out of my mouth.
I'm not going to go over
both took the words out of my mouth.
FloJo, though, but there's a little controversy.
It hasn't been proven, so you have to put them both there.
Oh, I mean, that's like saying the women with the 800-meter record was clean. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
World Athletics doesn't say it, so.
Things like that just make me question my fundamentals because I like to think innocent until proven guilty, but then there's a completely unrelated incident that's even more.
If it quacks and it barks, it might be a duck and a dog.
No, I mean, but I mean, I'm seriously like this might be the greatest single season any woman's ever had. She didn't lose in 100. I don't know if she might have lost 1-200 early on.
Did she lose to Gabby in like the first Grand Slam? Maybe that might
Gabby.
be
No, maybe Alfred early on. I'm not sure, but I mean, she was dominant. She crushed in the 1 and the 2. It was not even a contest.
But it's crazy because this was a who's who in the event too, because it's not like she beat a whole bunch of people that like a lot of the big names didn't qualify. Clayton, Alfred, Sharika Jackson, Sha'Carri, Fraser Price, Talu Smith, Asher Smith. You give me this final and people look at it and you could sit there and I wouldn't blame you for saying, maybe Melissa doesn't squeak with this one, right? Even with the great season, there's some great names.
But it was
she dominated, ran away from them. So Carson, did you expect to see this from Melissa just dominate?
I personally expected her to win once all of her consistency came through. I expected a greater challenge from Julian Alfred, but of course I didn't have any idea that the injury was going to befall her as it did at the worst possible time. Julian was running some of the most consistent times herself. Yes, they were in the 10.7s, whereas Melissa was actually in the low 10.7s and upper 10.6s, but still, Julian was close. She had that Olympic gold that she won last year as an underdog to Sha'Carri Richardson coming in. And of course, with all that we've seen from the Jamaicans, we know that they're dangerous on any given moment. I didn't think this was going to be either Sharika or Shelly Ann's here. Obviously, got to give respect to Shelly Ann, but
I thought Tia Clayton though had a shot.
Definitely. She got a really good start, but Melissa has really just turned into a complete sprinter this year. We saw it right out the gate with Grand Slam when she ran 21.99 at Franklin Field. When do you ever see fast
on that turn
times on a turn? Sprinters, we're used to measuring out our checkpoints on the track, and Melissa said, to heck with that. And she just opened it up and dared the world to come catch her, and nobody did. And this was arguably the more convincing win when you consider her background in the 100. She's always been a great starter ever since she won her first national title. But I think it all but cemented her status in the 200.
Yeah, 100%. So moving quickly through the 100-meter women hurdles, we have the Swiss champion, Ditaji Kabunji. I mess up all names.
Kambunji, I believe.
Kambunji. I mess up all of these names. I apologize to all of them.
I do have some Swiss German roots, but of course
There you go.
has that's not Swiss German. She's
But you have, Toby Amundsen there running a good time. Obviously came in as one of the favorites. Masai Russell not hitting the podium. Surprising, but kudos to Grace Stark over there. So, pumped up for this race. I'm not going to pretend to be like a knowledgeable hurdler.
I think it's
I only know
Skrzydłowska.
Where
You see, as a commentator, that I want, if I want to do this at the highest level, I got to know how to say all the names.
I feel like that's when you text their agent and it's like, hey, I'm going to be calling. Can you please give me the pronunciation there?
In the most phonetic form possible.
Yes. So real quick, we're jumping into the 200-meter, and someone that I wasn't surprised to see getting second, Amy Hunt. What a great year she's had. Melissa Jefferson-Wooden just continuing, like we talked about, her dominance. The sweep at 21.68, dominating everyone.
Is ridiculous.
But good for Amy Hunt. Sharika Jackson winning a fantastic race, 22.18. Probably not their standard. She wants to be up there with Melissa running sub 22.
Sure.
But good job. But again, even over here, you have Battle.
Has there been anybody more consistent the last decade than Talu? She's there every race. The one and the two.
Talk about Karani James.
Yep,
there you go.
Always there, man.
I think Akani Simbine on the men's side can probably
could be
asterisk there too.
So we can't say enough about Melissa Jefferson-Wooden. She's just incredible. So now the one that we all want to talk about. I will eat my words, Dave.
No,
the Queen did
never doubt
her damn thing.
Never
47.78 and respectable Marilyn Polino 47.98, giving her everything that she could.
48.19 gets you bronze.
And yeah, and here's the thing: the three women we thought that were going to be the ones there were the ones there, and it's always fun sometimes when you get that scratch, and by a lot, right? 48.19. The fourth was 49.27, which no flat. You go sub 50 as a woman, that is fast. But man, Queen Sid. I bow. I doubted you. You're not running 153 in the 8, but I doubted you in the
100% would. 100%
she would not come anywhere near
100%. It would take
Davis
at least a couple
150.
years.
She's 156.
I'm saying if she focused on it,
156 at best.
She would be.
Does not have that.
She would be Keely.
She would. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. She would not beat Keely.
Dude, she runs 47.7 in the open 400.
Good for her. God, that doesn't mean you're a good 800-meter runner, Dave.
Let's talk about what Sydney's good at. Let's.
There's not much to say about Sid at this point. She has proven herself to be the best 400 runner in 400-meter hurdle. Like she's arguably the best sprinter.
I mean,
she's the GOAT.
There's no way anybody's ever won worlds in both. No way.
I don't remember, possibly, but that is if so, it might have been an off year, which is the difference with what Sid did here. It's not like it's an off year in the women's 400. You have Paulino and Inacer coming in who are with the cream of the crop.
I think what I love most is Sid just talking afterwards. She's like, I want to keep challenging myself. Or seeing Femke afterwards, like, hey, Femke, what do you race? She's like, well, I don't think that I think we all know that I wouldn't have won if
I would love to see Femke drop down and now add Femke to this group and just see what she does. If she can unseat Paulino
48 point.
I think she goes sub 48, man. I think Femke can go sub 48.
I don't think so. I don't think she has the wheels for that.
She has that indoor world record 49.17, but the difficult thing is I think she's one of those types of runners that deceptively thrives from indoor tracks, and you wonder why she doesn't run these jaw-dropping 400 times when she comes over to outdoors in comparison to her indoor tracks. But she gets those outside lanes. She's taller. She gets to use that momentum on the down banks, and that just helps a runner with her style of efficiency. So that's where I think you kind of have to draw that line when you consider Femke an automatic for a podium like this. But it's obviously something that I'd love to see. I think the big thing for Sydney right now is what is the next challenge for her?
She's got to go down to the 2
from the world record in the 400, but she's also not
entering men's meets
50 in the 400 hurdles. She's not that far off a sub 22 in the 200. She could easily break 11 if she trained for the 100. And you know what? I'm just going to
153 in the 800.
Yeah, whatever.
I think the smart thing, instead of trying to be a dumb thing in the 800 and running a 159 at
No, I
best
know.
now, I'm going to keep going higher and higher. She's going to run a 210. Anyway,
And
I think she should drop down to the 2 while focusing on the 4 as well. Get that world record in the 4 and then
get the
go
world
chase
record
the
in the
2.
two.
Then
Yeah.
go chase the 2, which is
Rye,
more
Rye
difficult, right?
Benjamin's going
'Cause
to do the same thing next year.
she's
So.
doing it backwards, right? Because you tend to lose a little bit of fast twitch as you get older. But I can't see that happening with her. I could see her going to chase people down. But I mean, what Melissa Jefferson wouldn't, I don't know if you want to go down there, because Melissa might just look at her and be like, "Girl, get away from me." Like, go back up to that
Well,
400.
speaking
It'll
of
be
people
tough,
doing it
but
backwards,
I just
yeah.
can't doubt Sydney more. Like when you see her on that line, she's got that like little shake going. You're like, look out, she ain't losing, man. Her face just says it all. Like I'm winning this.
What
race.
if Sid
it's that
retires
sensitive.
after the next
She could.
Olympics? I wouldn't
She
be
has
surprised when
talked
she
about
retires
that.
after
She
the
has
next
talked about.
Olympics.
I heard her say she's like She's like, you won't have to tell me that I have to go. I will
Does she
know.
go for the double? Does she go for the 400 hurdles, 400-meter
It
championship?
depends on the schedule.
The
if
thing
it's
is,
possible.
if the Olympics are going to be held in LA, you already know that the IOC and USATF and everybody involved is going to consider that possibility and what it could do for growing the sport. And
They should schedule it that way anyway, because they
Yeah.
should favor Sid, because she is her and Noah are the two most popular athletes in this sport on the track.
I mean, yes,
Still
that's
got
going
2
to
years,
ruffle
though.
some feathers, but consider
Who
where
cares?
Sid has brought this sport.
Yeah.
10, 20 years, yes, even 10 years ago, the idea of even intersecting the 400 with the 400 hurdles or even doubling it all was just completely unthought of. And now
You
we're
ruffle as many
mentioning the same
feathers as
sentence.
you can if it means that we get to watch Sid do both. Because, and do I think she'll be ready? 1,000%.
If she wants to do it, she'll be in there.
She's just so mentally tough. Like she doesn't let any noise. She just boom. She's just it's amazing. She lets nothing derail her in any way.
Paulino in that last 50, you could
was
see
catching
on
her.
the side angle, you could see Paulino. She's coming closer, but then
5
you
more
see that
meters and
strength
Sid
of
doesn't
Sydney,
win.
and it's just like no.
5
Sydney,
more meters,
Sydney pulled her
Paulino
back in that
catches
last 50. She just had that strength, and that's just like what you were talking about. She brings that out no matter the occasion.
I mean,
you can't hate her for it.
I'm
just
gonna say
gotta bow in respect.
I'm gonna say it. In my eyes, Sydney is the world record holder.
Yes, I agree, but it's hard to say,
It's
right?
possible.
Like it's there. I would love
here's
to.
the thing.
I think my thing with slow distance races, having no champion, holds more credence.
Yeah, I'm gonna consider this as I would consider myself, right? See, when I ran all my great times that I did this summer, after that 55.6 that I mentioned off the top of the episode, I ran a 55.4 and a 55.2, but I still consider that 54 split from my last high school 4x4 as my overall PR. I still keep that for me to chase no matter how much longer it takes me, because you can never allow yourself to become satisfied with wherever you are. And if Sydney
I don't think she does.
is never satisfied. So long as she still has that world record to chase, so long as she still has any realistic goal to chase, she's going to stay hungry and she's going to do whatever she needs to do to get it.
Absolutely. So speaking of Femke, over here in the 400 hurdles, obviously Femke suffered from not having Sid there to chase, right?
Sure.
51.54 she's a 52nd girl, a woman. She's done that before. So the race suffered, but shout out to Jasmine Jones for taking that opportunity coming in there. Anna Cockrell probably, wish she had a better race there.
Yes, she's definitely run faster.
But shout out to Delilah Muhammad making
last
that
race,
final
man.
and the last race. Not the time she obviously wanted, but man, you made the world final for your last race. Like what a career for Delilah Muhammad, man. Oh yeah, listen. Before Sid, it was Delilah. Like that was it.
Yeah, running like I think when she ran, I remember she ran 52. I was like, wow,
wild,
like
right?
52, like holy cow! And now it's got down to 50. But I mean, she's an absolute legend. Another mom who came back to finally dispel that crazy myth that women who have babies can't come back, like from 30 years ago. So good for her. But she's a legend.
She is. So jumping quickly, we talked about the 800. Carson, you mentioned this 154 sweep up top, massive PR in fifth from Sage Herta-Klecker with the 155.89.
It's like a PR monster.
And what the hell do the Moras feed their kids? Because a cousin, Sarah Mora, ends up taking fourth, and Mary finished like Mary is the Olympic champion. And what are they feeding their kids? Like the Moras, like Jesus Christmas, they're just nuts there. But
whoever they are, we need to get them as a sponsor for Talking in Ovals.
yes,
I just saw
O'Deaver, Hunter Bell, Hodgkinson, awesome job to them. That's an honest race, damn it, right there.
It is. They went for it, and Cora came out strong. I mean, there's a lot of talk is like, I guess her PR of like 4 years ago was like 211, but hard work, man.
Great job. And, kudos to, Hunter Bell and Keely coming back from that injury and running faster early on when she first came back and stuff, and finishing with the 154.91. Like, what more can she do in coming off of injuries?
Not going to her better event, which has always been the 1500. Now it's, running that. That's man. It's crazy, man.
It is wild. So kudos to the women there. So over here to the 15. I mean, again, you want to run tactical a little bit, and Faith Kipyegon's not caring because she's just going to win the race. Again, I get it. Everyone knows that Faith Kipyegon there is going to win, but there's no point in letting her win. Okay, I don't know.
That's still an honest race, though.
It's a better race because Faith's in it. It's Faith. She's going to run a 3:52, and I expected a little better from the Americans. Obviously we have Sinclair Johnson, one of our favorites down there. Obviously didn't have the race she wanted, running 4 flat. Nikki, we know Nikki Hiltz is more capable of being right up there in that 355, 354.
Yep.
So Nikki's not going to be happy with the 357, but a more honest race. I will count this championship. They can have it. But again, we all knew Faith was going to win unless something crazy happened, right? So Faith is as automatic as Sid at this point. I think we are in that. And like you said, Dave, another woman,
15, yes.
Another woman that had a child and has been better since, which is insane, right? Carson, anything to say about the 15? But the fact that Faith's just ridiculous.
Not too much to add there, but I'm especially happy that she was finally able to lead a Kenya 1-2 for the first time.
Yes,
in the 1500. And obviously we saw, there's a little bit of foreshadowing in the 5K, but she got to be part of another Kenyan 1-2 there. So
really only on the opposite side in that one.
Yeah.
So we will jump to the 3K steeple over here for the ladies.
That was slow too, man. That was
over
slow.
here. No, it's another race that does not count.
That was worse than the men's.
Again, we will not count these races.
I gotta say though, I'm especially happy that Angelina Napoleon did her thing. She made the final. As a New York commentator, she was one of the first real elite athletes during my first year covering the sport out of very small school, Allegheny Limestone in Western New York. Coming from a high school 2K steeple national record holder just 2 years later and appearing in her first world final, whether or not we counted under our championship standards, right? That's still an incredible experience for her.
For her.
NCAA bronze medalist at Division I for NC State. She's a freaking gamer, and I couldn't be prouder of her.
So here we are jumping into the women's 5K here. And like you said, Faith on the back end here. But
hey, you know what? Shelby and Josette made that right.
They tried to make it better.
They let it.
Yeah. And Shelby, Josette with the 15, Shelby with the 14:57. But again, this was much more of a championship race.
It was.
Until Shelby took it over, until Shelby and Josette tried to, in that middle phase, make it more honest.
Yep.
But it's one of those things, and me and you were texting going, what is everybody doing? And someone who suffered from this? Good off Tsegay. Because Tsegay has the ability to be up there. And if it's an honest race, it's between Beatrice, Faith, and Tsegay probably more than they let Nadia Batacletti, who is a fantastic 5K runner, but she's happy that they let her run that race, okay? Because she ran a 14:55 and she can get on the podium. So, again, I don't count this one. Yeah. Not a championship race.
Under 15 minutes is still really good running.
I got to give my love for the Italians, but I don't know how they keep letting Nadia Batacletti onto the podium. But hey, she takes it. She thrives in races like this and just has really gotten good experience by being a part of them.
Yeah. I know people don't like her, but congrats to Shelby. She paid
I'm
her.
fine with Shelby. Shelby
Me too. I'm 100%. She
suffered her penalty and she came back.
She paid the time and she's 100% allowed to be running.
Shelby one bit.
She's running for our country, so I support that.
Well, it's like, are those the same people that are going to put an asterisk over the USA men winning the 4x1 just because Christian Coleman was on the lineup?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not going to, right? And we didn't even talk about Arian Knighton and his 4-year suspension. I think Arian is basically done in this sport. With
It's hard to
everything
miss
that he's battled.
4
I
years.
think he should enjoy the enhanced games with Fred Curley.
Him and Fred Curley, man. That's
Yeah,
wild.
I
Man.
mean that's wild to see Fred go
I mean,
there. But
where it's funny how I somehow arrived at this point after talking about one of the Italians, Nadia Battocletti, of course, more so as a reference from Shelby Houlihan's suspension. But you think about another Italian that just joined the enhanced games, their former 400 national record holder, Davide Ray. And so you see athletes of all different backgrounds.
Can these guys come back, though? Can they come back? Because even if they
No.
don't do anything, say they do try to run clean in the enhanced games, maybe
What's
just
the point of
prove
running
that
clean in
guys
enhanced games?
but can they ever come back? Like, is Fred Curley done? Fred Curley is one of the best American sprinters of the last decade, right? 5-10 years. Can he ever come back?
I don't think Fred wants to come back.
I think that's exactly the point, right?
Fred
I've been
is so
following Fred on social media.
He's so upset with USA Track and Field, and he feels
He had
slighted.
such a hectic year.
And he has all those
and
crazy
Grand Slam, and he just
last year he
they
had
want a sense of certainty that they're going to get paid. It doesn't matter to them the means at which they get paid.
Yeah, listen, and I can't blame him. Like he didn't get paid. Like all these guys, they did. Like Grand Slam did not pay. It's crazy that they did not get paid.
I mean, yeah. So let's move on. The women's 10K. We have Beatrice getting the sweep here in a 30-37. Nadia jumping back on Battocletti in a 30-38-2-3 with the national record there. And Tsegay 30-39 season best. Better
This was
race.
an honest race.
Better race, much better race.
Yes,
I'm much happier with this. Seeing a 30-minute, obviously I feel like some of these women are sub 30, but this is an honest race, right? This stretched it out. It separated the ones that had a chance versus the ones that didn't, right? So I'm much happier with this race.
Good.
This one counts.
Stamp of approval.
This one counts. They can actually keep their championships and get paid for it. But again, good for Beatrice Chebet. We knew what she had in her.
She's becoming like an all-time great,
Absolutely. So not that much to really say about this race. Any of the throwing events or anything that any of you guys want to?
Ryan Krauser the guy just throws like 10 throws every year and then just comes out and wins. I mean,
he comes in and throws by mistake. And wins.
He's the absolute greatest to ever do it. And I just love his great him and him and freaking Mondo, man. I mean, like, come on, another world record. Like now we're at 6.3. I mean, how much money has he gotten now from freaking Puma for breaking that world record? A lot.
I was seeing so many people comment and I was laughing about it. Like Mexico has a track team because the Mexican finished second there. And I was like, yes, they have a track team.
Of course they do.
I was cracking up with that.
Crazy.
But, let's go. Let's look at Mondo. What do we got going on here? Let me find Mondo here. The beauty.
630.
Yeah, let's see. Where is he?
He's another 100K in the bag.
I just saw some video of like his career. Like he has every record from like U8 up. It's unbelievable.
There's I'm not surprised. I've worked age group meets. Of course I should know that there are records for that age group, but that's still insane that that people that young are even pole vaulting.
He had a pole vault pit in his backyard. His dad was pole like he was born. But the thing that I love but Mondo, they say, what's your most important thing for training? He said, I don't train, I don't jump much. It's sprint work. I just get fast. Fast.
I wish I had known that before watching him versus Karsten Warholm in the 100.
And and looking over there, the American Sam Kendricks just barely missing out with Curtis Marshall. Sam's so good.
He has, man.
And there's him, and we don't see Casey Lightfoot on here, but Casey Lightfoot's another one that usually pokes his head into these world stages and has a chance to medal.
Women's pole vault, we went. Katie Moon, Sandy Morris.
Katie
Moon wins it on Sandy Morris win the whole time. Last jump, she gets it.
Yeah,
yep. Katie
that was exciting to watch.
That was very exciting. I was watching that because it was.
So Carson, do you wish that you had some like a better feed sometimes into these events so that you could call them and things like that?
I do, because you just consider the way that they develop. I'll oftentimes go into a major meet from a fan's perspective and admittedly barely be thinking about the field events. But then when they come on in between long stretches of track action, I just find myself so absorbed in them, just as I would with a track event. For example, this event is a trademark example. Sandy Morris has been through literal hell these past few years, just with her injuries, with not being herself when she's on the runway. And this was the truest form of Sandy Morris that we've seen since her prime back in Rio and whatnot. whatnot.
Yes. Yeah. So pumped for them there. So last thing we're going to do before we quickly talk about the relays, we got to talk about another queen,
Oh,
Valerie Allman.
she might
And
be the
not
most
just
dominant.
winning, but Jesus Christmas. You want to talk about Mondo and Krauser and Sid and Faith and Chibet? Like, you got to put Valerie's name up there.
She's
Put some
my
respect
most
on it.
dominant athlete now in the sport.
Jesus, just a freak of nature. And again, like you mentioned in the last one, Carson, we'll go to you
Woodall
because
too.
her
I'll jump.
form is so, like, her body shape for a discus thrower is so different. She is lean, muscular.
Long.
That's
That's what it is.
It's just so different. How do you feel about Valerie and what the hell she's doing?
I mean, she's unquestionably the most dominant in her discipline, and you consider the technique that goes into what she does. Obviously, she has a interesting advantage having her fiance as her coach. You know, that's always been a great relationship to have, and very
You hope it's a great
advantageous at
relationship.
that, dating back to the college days. But just having that sense of accountability and that transparency just has really played a game-changing effect in how she's really brought this event to the place that she's brought it to.
I believe that I read that she has a pretty prominent dancing background too, which can certainly help.
It's crazy because a lot of the athletes that I talk to, a lot of the female athletes that I talk to that have the dance background, they'll typically go to the hurdles, they'll go to the high jump, the events typically associated with acrobatic athletes. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the throwers, not just the jab, all throws, really just the technique and having the muscle memory built through months and months in the weight room. That's ultimately what makes these athletes the best in the world.
Yep.
So before we get out of here, I want to do a few more. We'll talk about the relays. It's almost 2 hours. Damn, Carson, you've been on with us for almost 2 hours. Wow.
I should have warned you.
Yeah, no, I love it. But so 4x1 women, they get it done. Melissa Jefferson Wooden, TT Terry, Kayla White, Sha'Carri Richardson. But shout out to Shelly Ann getting a silver in her final.
Yes.
Her final race with Tia and Tina Clayton there.
I expected Great Britain to
I thought they'd be better too with Asher Smith and Hunt and everything. But
Dieta.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It wasn't as good there, but good for them. Jumping over to we talked a little about the 4x1 men, Coleman, Kung Fu Kenny, Courtney Lindsay, Noah. It's always interesting when you see Noah and Kenny have to pose and give each other high fives now. I love it. The professionalism.
Because they're just faster. It was not because of handoffs. They're just.
Well, Christian had a good handoff to Kenny right now, and Courtney's handoff to Noah was good.
Yeah, just Kenny seems to be in the middle of these handoffs. Like, I don't know what it is, but I mean, we all know that they don't ever practice.
Here's the thing that I've never understood. Why is Kenny Bednarik never been placed on third leg? He always runs the best turns in the 200. Why not just put him there?
I would say Coleman obviously is your leadoff guy until he can't do it anymore. He's the best. And Kenny's a 200-meter guy. Why is he not running the turn?
It's like in 2022 when they tried to overcomplicate putting Noah Lyles on the back straightaway.
No idea why.
Because he's running the longest distance, so he's got the best 200 speed. So scientifically, it should match up that way. But you go back to the point I made earlier, ironically, about why Kenny loses a lot of races. It's because of the matchups. When you place yourself in matchup in certain situations, Noah Lyles, when you put him on that anchor with a running start, nobody's catching him.
Some guys are just dogs. Kenny might not be. Noah Lyles is your anchor. Like he's not afraid. He's going to run it and he's going to make it a race. Kenny, but you're right. I mean, like he's a 200-meter runner. Why he's not that third leg? I don't know.
You saw the Canadians have a pissed off reaction after the race because you look at their group, they should have been closer. Because Brown, Blake, Ronnie, and DeGrasse, that's a good group. They might not be the Americans, but the Americans beat them pretty soundly. Noah put a pretty big whooping on Andre DeGrasse at the end.
They are technicians, though, with their handoffs, the Canadians, because they practice it. And they made that a point. I think it was out of Bolden saying, like, hey, don't be surprised with Canada. They work this. Like, and he went out his way to say,
good group. That's a very good, fast group.
Like, handoffs can mean more than speed. But I think we won because we had decent handoffs and we're just faster.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when Christian Coleman is your leadoff guy, what do you run? 9.86? earlier this year, and like
he's so fast. He's such a good starter.
He's
Like
fast.
it's unfair to have him start. So coming into the only relay America lost, the Botswanans, we talked about this. They came in, they won with a fantastic time of 2:57.76. They
it was
ran
close.
well.
You know what?
Close.
The only part that got me was I'm not surprised that Botswana won. I'm surprised that they won after watching the race because Rye had like a good 4-meter lead.
Yeah.
When he got in, he just got walked.
Typically, that's where Rye thrives. When
Yes.
he's in front, we've never seen him get caught.
Correct.
I don't want to completely chalk it up to the pitch of the track that has lane one slightly deeper, therefore making Rye a little bit more underwater than Cabanatupi and
Water was definitely a factor. I mean,
Could have been. Could
but
100% been.
at
But
that
at
point,
that level, there's no excuses, right?
and like
No.
like they're all running lane one.
If Rye can sense that, then move wide a little bit.
But then you also right there, you had South Africa who finished
with
photo finish.
Wait,
with
one of my
Jordan.
favorite races was watching Wade run 43.26.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
baby.
Yeah,
Let's go
yeah.
back to before.
Wade running really fast. You have Nene in there who's incredibly fast. So good for the listen. It's a fraction of a second, and Nene
Look at that.
catches
257.76.
Nene catches Benjamin too. So that's
Look at that.
good for them. Good for them.
I didn't realize that was a tie down to the 10th. I mean,
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was a deep break there.
Crazy.
I mean, and we just, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so close to the point where Aaron Brown basically considered South Africa the silver medalists. We love you, Spider. We love you.
Because of course Spider would. But let's go in the last race we're gonna cover. The women's 4x4. God, the women ran away from this one.
Listen,
it's so good with
Irby Jackson though. She split 48. I mean, she busted that thing open. I mean, Sid. I mean, does
Sid is Sid?
I mean, like 47. I'm like, oh, she's running like 49, 47.8. I'm like, what? Like what?
Yeah, and it's like they did well. They did well. They dominated, and they got a championship record. And
in the rain, I mean, it was coming down.
Pouring rain, and good for them. Good for them. So that is Worlds in a nutshell. That's what we are going to talk about here. So we had, most races had champions. A few of them didn't, and that's okay. That a few people didn't get championships, and that's sad for them. But God, we just like chalked off because of me how many guests will never come on the show. Things that I've said, but listen, I can only be me, damn it. But Carson, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I said to you guys before, just love getting the opportunity to talk about the sport. It's always something that I've envisioned for it. Just having more track talk popularized. If I ever get to become a lead play-by-play announcer for any major track and field championships, my greatest hope is that the broadcast will not end once the meet concludes, is that there will be a 30-minute post-game segment on national television.
With Talking and Nobles hosting,
I think I know a couple guys that I want to bring along for the ride.
Let's do it.
We'll jump in that studio, baby. We would love that. So everyone, please go over to YouTube and you can go find Carson over there. It's at Carson Gambaro. If you're really searching for it, he's all over here.
And if you're getting married, hire his band.
Yes,
Please
100%.
Ken Most Wanted band.
But right over here, you could see his episodes for the In Full Stride podcast, which I love that fact that you go over to the tracks and do it and everything. Yeah. So fun stuff. So we appreciate you jumping on, brother. It was fun. We went 2 hours. Whenever we go 2 hours, it's been a good time. Everybody go out there and go find him on Instagram with the In Full Stride podcast there. And you can find us everywhere you can find a podcast. Go search Talking and Nobles. We will be back next week, Dave. I have no idea who we have coming on next week.
I don't know if we have anyone yet, but
I don't know.
I'm free next week if you guys want to run it back.
Well, we might have to let you know on that. But yes, so everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll be back. So long, y'all.